Okay, let's gather our seats, folks, and we can begin our program. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Before we begin with our festivities tonight, I would like everyone to please stand for a moment of silence for all of the inductees and their families who have passed and could not be here tonight to partake in this wonderful evening. Please remain standing as I call up one of Carl H. Kumpf Middle School's very best, Ciro Catrona, a student, to play our national anthem. Sure, that's just an awesome job and a great way to kick off tonight. Great job. Hello all, and welcome to the second annual Arthur L. Johnson High School Athletic Hall of Fame Induction Dinner. The journey to tonight's ceremony started over 7 years ago with many, many meetings, and with the help of everybody in the room, it became a reality. We are delighted that you have joined us for this special occasion and continuation of a new Arthur L. Johnson High School tradition. Tonight, we remember, we recognize, and honor an unforgettable team, 2 highly decorated coaches, and 12 outstanding student athletes who most certainly have left their indelible mark on the history and tradition of Crusader athletics. As members of the second class of ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame, their accomplishments in the realm of high school athletics stand out as the very best in the history of our school. In many cases, these honorees went on to distinguish themselves both in college and in the professional ranks. The new Hall of Famers represent eras spanning from the earliest days of our Crusader sports programs through the first decade of the 21st century. Tonight's event also serves as a celebration of ALJ athletics as a whole. From the days of competition in the Watchung Conference and the many, many years in the Mountain Valley Conference through the school's most recent history in the Union County Conference and the Big Central Football Conference. This is a celebration of victories and championships, to be sure, but it is also a celebration of the determined efforts of all Crusader student athletes over the years who wore the Crusader blue and gave it their all, representing our school and our communities as well. So, we hope you will thoroughly enjoy this evening's festivities. Listen, talk, laugh, share and reminisce, and remember what it was like and what it is still like to be an Arthur L. Johnson Crusader. As many of mine, actually as many of our old coaches used to say, once a Crusader, always a Crusader. At this time, I would like to give thanks to some of the many people that not only made tonight a reality, but who are also instrumental in guiding Crusader athletics in our present day. The following people are instrumental in our Crusader athletic family. Let's introduce them to the room. It is critically important that any administration knows the value of athletics. And I am proud to say that our Board of Education and our school administration all support our teams and student athletes with great enthusiasm. First, our Clark Schools Board of Education. When I call your name, if you would please stand up. President, Mr. Steve Donkersloot. Vice President, Ms. Lorena Clonis. Mr. Dino Bensavenga, Mr. Robert Breedy, Mrs. Laura Calaguire, Mrs. Megan Harrison, Mrs. Kristen Hickman, Mr. Thomas May, and Mr. Bob Smorl, and our Garwood representative, Ms. Christine Guerrero. Thank you, guys. Now, our Clark Schools administration team, led by our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Ed Grandy. Our business administrator, Mr. Paul Vizuzzo, our director of guidance, Mr. Andrew Amendola, our supervisor of special services, Dr. Heather Austin, our principal, Mrs. Tara Oliveira, our VP, assistant principal, and one of tonight's inductees, Mrs. Katrina Pasque, my administrative assistant, Mrs. Geraldine Bonacorso, our athletic trainer who is here tonight, Mr. Jonathan Rinelli, and our head of maintenance, Mr. John Pingler. In addition, our athletic success would not be possible without the partnership that we have with our mayor, Angel Albanese, and the Clark Town Council, who were so instrumental in paving the way for our state-of-the-art athletic complex, which is the envy of every school in Union County. Let's introduce them to the room. Our mayor, Angel Albanese. President, Bill Smith. Vice President, Steve Hunt. And Jimmy Minetti, Frank Mazzarella, Patrick O'Connor, Jesse Huff, Brian Toll, and our town's business administrator, Jim Ulrich. And last, but certainly not least, is our ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. This brainstorm started years ago, before COVID, and had this group meeting a multitude of times in order to bring this dream to a reality. Without their hard work and dedication, tonight's event would not be possible. A huge thank you to all the members of the committee for the countless hours you put into making this night a reality. Mr. Bob Smorl, please stand. Mr. Steve Petrozelli, Mr. Wayne Carrick, Mrs. Tracy Hayden Minori, Mr. Bob Nadaski, Mr. Thomas Long, and Mr. Steve Schoaf. Also, at this time, I would like to acknowledge our inaugural class that was inducted into the ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame 2 years ago. Inductees, if you could please stand up when your name is called and remain standing. Mr. Bruce Paragallo for his dad, the legend, Coach Lou Paragallo. Joseph Cesea, Joseph Provenzano, Frank Spaziani, Marlene Milkowski, Richard Zavalli, Tracy Hayden, Kevin Boyle, Todd Berger, Karen Kolnos, Ray Rosiniak, Matthew Pasque, Rob Smorl, and any members of the 1981 boys basketball team. How about another round of applause for ALJ's first Athletic Hall of Fame class? We would also be remiss if we did not mention the following people for their help in making tonight's event a special one. Brian Valerio. Brian is responsible for the wonderful Arthur L. Johnson High School Athletic Hall of Fame programs that each of you see at your tables. Needless to say, this endeavor took hours upon hours to complete. So Brian, could you stand up and be recognized for your efforts in making this evening even more memorable for our inductees? We also have Jamie Shofi, event photographer. Jamie, I know you didn't necessarily sign up for this job, but 1,000 thank yous for assisting with tonight's event. Donna Smorrell, the centerpieces, the seating, the finances, and basically everything that the men would mess up, Donna took care of. So Donna, wonderful job. John Carsmith, videographer, for the wonderful coverage of tonight's event, so it could be a memory that lasts a lifetime. David Brighouse, for the wonderful coverage leading up to the event and post-event for our press release for Tap Into Clark. Mr. Kevin Tenpenny and the UCIAC for all their support throughout the process, in addition to placing a wonderful ad in our program. Tonight's event was also supported by our Arthur L. Johnson High School Booster Club. Special thanks go out to the Booster Club and President Jimmy Minetti for his leadership and his dedication. And a huge thank you to the Booster Club Executive Board, Rachel Yellen, Jason Katz, Margaret Conforti, Katie Bensavenga, Janine Pereira, and Jess DiBiase. So at this time, I would like to bring up some special guests to say a few short remarks to kick off tonight's evening. We'll begin with our Superintendent of Schools. Mr. Ed Grandy is a staunch supporter of all of our athletic programs. He is, quite frankly, the best superintendent one could ever ask for as an athletic director. At this time, I would like to call up Mr. Grandy to say a few short remarks.
Good evening, everyone, and what a most special evening it is. This evening it's honorees. So many congratulations on being inducted into this most prestigious group. Whether you're being inducted as an individual athlete, an entire team, or as a coach, your accomplishments in ALJ athletics, combined with the rich athletic history of ALJ that you represent and that we're going to hear about this evening, are so very powerful. Athletics play such a very important role in ALJ's daily life. And our honorees, our inductees, are masters who got it right. They're role models for our current student athletes, bridging that past with our current day. And they also are inspirations for us all. Many, many thank you and thanks to our committee, which was guided by Mr. Smorrell and assisted by Mr. Kalikas. Bringing us together this evening and choosing our honorees is no easy task, and they did it so very, very well. I know we all are so very appreciative of their efforts. I'm personally so thankful and appreciative for being included and being able to share this evening with all of you. I don't take that for granted or lightly. Let's be sure to enjoy the evening. I know we're all looking forward to it, so let's do it. Thank you.
And in what was my first miss of the day, but certainly I doubt will be my last, our new administrator and dean of students, one of my former players, two-time state champ as our former softball coach. Chris, I'm not used to you being an administrator, but stand up, buddy. Mr. Chris Danucci. Thankfully, we all know that will not be my last slip up of the evening. At this time, one of our biggest supporters is our very own principal and former Crusader student athlete herself, Tara Oliveira. As a former Crusader herself, she knows what it means to bleed Crusader blue. Mrs. Oliveira will come up right now to share a few remarks.
4 years ago, I walked through the doors of ALJ for nearly the first time in 20 years. And although the halls are now painted blue and school counseling has moved to the first floor and the lockers have been replaced, although I'm guessing many of you still remember your combo, it felt exactly the same. True story, only a few days after I started as the principal, I went to my first pep rally. And I actually started to cry. You can ask Ms. Poske if that's the truth. Students were laser beam focused on winning the tug of war. They were screaming in excitement as they tried to cheer their friends on as they were playing musical chairs. They were listening intently as each captain introduced their teams. It was still the late 90s at ALJ. Our high school is and always will be a special place, where somehow we move forward while our traditions stay the same. Now, I'm in no way affiliated with the selection process of the Hall of Fame, yet somehow I'm connected to many of our honorees tonight. I went to high school with some. I became adult friends because of our kids with others. I watched another as he went from coach to administrator. I'm fortunate enough to call one an irreplaceable friend, and even one in the group my brother. So what that means is, one, I'm doing an awesome job associating myself with great people. Or two, ALJ is a pretty fantastic place to grow, to learn, and to be an athlete. Look at the success we have in this room. Tonight we gather to celebrate the best of what Crusader Athletics stands for: excellence, grit, heart, and legacy. The individuals that we're honoring didn't just play the game, they set the standard. They inspired teammates, they helped build the proud tradition that makes being a Johnson Crusader something truly special. To our inductees, I want to thank you. Your achievements are impressive, but more than that, it's the way that you've carried yourself and your futures that have brought you here tonight as Hall of Famers. Thank you for showing our current Crusaders and our community what is possible when you commit yourselves fully, when you work hard, when you lead with integrity, and when you never forget who you're playing for. I am privileged, as Gus said, to once have worn Crusader blue, and I'm still honored to be a part of Crusader Nation. Congratulations to each and every one of our honorees tonight. Enjoy this evening as we celebrate you. Thank you.
Our mayor, Mayor Albanese, is a huge fan of Crusader Athletics. At this time, Mayor Albanese will come up to say a few short remarks.
Good evening, everyone. It's truly a privilege to be here tonight to celebrate the newest members of the Arthur L. Johnson Athletic Hall of Fame. You know, this ceremony honors individuals whose dedication, talent, and perseverance have elevated not only their teams, but our entire community. This event is one of those moments that makes Clark so special when we come together to honor the people who've given their all for their sport, their teammates, and their school. It reminds us that success doesn't just happen on game day. It's built through early mornings, long practices, and determination that never quits. Each individual embodies the values that make Clark strong: discipline, teamwork, and Crusader pride. That same drive is what keeps our community moving forward. Because athletics teaches us how to push through the challenges, to lift each other up, and to keep strong to do our best. And as we celebrate athletic achievement, we also celebrate the value of staying active for life. Fitness isn't always about competition. It's about living longer, living stronger, and keeping the energy to do the things we love throughout our lives. So tonight we honor these athletes and coaches for what they've achieved and for what they continue to teach us, that strength, discipline, and heart are what truly defines them as champions. So congratulations to you all, and you make Clark proud every day. Thank you.
If we could just thank Trish Petrozelli. Trish, please stand up. Trish was heavily involved in the seating, the front desk, and once again, all the little things that, if were left up to me, would make this evening go bad. So thank you so much, Trish, for your help tonight. At this time, we will proceed with our inductee introductions and our plaque presentations. And we're going to start with Coach Petrozelli and one of his inductees. Coach, if you would come up here.
There are very few sports that we don't have at Johnson over the years. We sponsor so many. One of the ones we do not sponsor is fencing. However, maybe one of the most successful athletes out of Johnson was a fencer. He competed as you can compete in NJSIAA tournaments as an independent. He represented Johnson in the saber event in fencing. And he won. Not once, not twice, 3 times, and the only 3-time NJSIAA fencing champion in the history of fencing in high schools in New Jersey. A member of the U.S. Under-17 national team, a 7-time in different ages U.S. national champion, 2008 Booster Club Athlete of the Year. Most fencers just fence, and despite this demanding schedule, Alex played football, was an all-conference lacrosse player. So not just a fencer, but a great 3-sport athlete, and was undefeated in fencing in his senior year. From there, a scholarship to Penn State, where he was a 4-time All-American, played in the World University Games, and was on 2 NCAA fencing champions at Penn State. Maybe his most impressive stuff with all that has been in the coaching field. He's coached at many schools. Currently, he is the saber coach at Princeton University. He was the 2025 Ivy League Coach of the Year. He was the 2024 Women's Saber Fencing Coach at the Paris Olympics. And in 2028, he will lead the men's saber team in the Olympics in Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Achone.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the Booster Club and the committee for this humbling recognition. It's an absolute honor to be here tonight with you amongst such a class with so many tremendous athletes and people. None of my success, first and foremost, would not be possible without the support of my parents, who have sacrificed so much for me to get to where I am today. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Jen, for pushing me to come tonight and allowing me to while we wait for the birth of our first child any moment. So my apologies in advance if I leave early. I've been blessed to have some of the best coaches in the world during my fencing career, and as much as they helped me achieve my goals, it's the teachers, coaches, teammates, and classmates at ALJ who helped shape me into the person I am today. I know that my ability to play other sports growing up made me an overall better fencer, teammate, and now ultimately a coach. Without the support and the understanding of my coaches, I would not be able to explore other interests during my crazy competition schedule. I'd miss practices, camps, and even some preseason because of international competitions. But my coaches still allowed me a chance to be a member of those teams. And my teammates embraced me, knowing I wasn't skipping just because. They saw something bigger in me than I saw in myself. Truthfully, and funny enough that we're at the Grand Centurions, but I was just trying to figure out how to not miss the next Sweet 16 in this very room, and hoping that there was no tournament on that day. But the truth is, when I was younger, I shied away a little bit from saying I was a fencer and why I was missing school and different activities. But those very people that I mentioned in the halls of ALJ gave me the confidence to embrace it and shoot for higher goals. When my teammates asked about my latest travels and became interested in fencing, and my teachers worked with me to make up assignments or exams, they showed me I had more support than I imagined. It gave me the fire to play even harder for them during football and lacrosse games. It made me and even more determined during my fencing tournaments to represent them all in my school. Although I don't currently live in Clark, I still list Clark, New Jersey as my hometown place that I want to represent on all my bios, whether it's for the Olympics or the universities that I'm coaching at. It was Clark also where my coaching career started as well. Mr. Bernardo called me and asked if I'd be interested in running a rec program, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to expose more kids to fencing. Little did I know that would be the start of something bigger for me, my career as an educator and coach. At the time, I didn't have Olympic coach on my mind, but I did have the drive to make life champions through sports. I'm proud to say I started my academy in Clark, and then later moved it to Garwood, and give people more accessibility to get high-level training without having to travel to Manhattan like I had to. I'm proud to have built one of the most successful fencing clubs in the US, having people move across the country and even the world to train here, all in our backyard. Without a doubt, the Olympics and watching my students win world titles has been a pinnacle of my career, but there was plenty before me, and there will be plenty after me to achieve the same. But I am proud to say that I am the first, and probably the only, New Jersey high school state fencing champion for Johnson. But hopefully I'm not the last. Thank you again to the Booster Club for even getting me a state championship ring, a couple, whatever years that was ago, for that achievement. And I appreciate everyone who played a role in my journey and the support you've given me over the years. Thank you for welcoming me back home and for reminding me where it all began. I hope to continue making you all proud when we go for gold in the LA 28 Olympics.
Okay, continuing with our program, I have the honor of announcing our next two inductees. Our next inductee is a legendary Arthur L. Johnson High School field hockey coach, Coach Katrina Pasque. Katrina was appointed our head coach for field hockey in the fall of 2000. She coached field hockey at Arthur L. Johnson High School for 22 consecutive seasons. She earned her 200th win against Westfield by a score of 2-1 on September 11th, 2014. She has 297 career wins, all accumulated while playing a schedule with numerous nationally ranked teams such as Oak Knoll, West Essex, and Shore Regional. She was named the Star Ledger Coach of the Year, not once, not twice, but 3 times in 2004, 2006, and 2010. Her teams qualified for the NJSIA State Tournament play in each of the 22 years she was the head coach, and she appeared in 9 consecutive Union County Championship games and 13 overall. Her teams earned the Mountain Valley Conference Championship in 2005, and that wonderful evening in 2009 where they knocked off Oak Knoll and were county champions. She also won the North Jersey Section 2 Group 2 Sectional State Championship 3 times. Katrina coached numerous Division I, Division II, and Division III athletes, including multiple national champions, one of which was her own daughter, Tatum, who is completing her Division I field hockey career at Towson University this fall and is here with us tonight. Katrina was honored in 2012 by the NJSAA for service and contributions in the sport of field hockey in the state of New Jersey. Katrina, who is my friend, co-worker, and sister-in-law, currently resides in Clark with her husband Matthew and her 3 lovely children, Ty, Tatum, and Shet. Katrina Pasque.
I apologize in advance if this is a little bit longer. I figured I'm early, but also it's been a really long time that I've been at Johnson, so I don't have one season to celebrate. I don't have one 4-year career to celebrate. I have the careers of all of these amazing girls that I was able to coach during the 24 years that I was part of the Johnson Field Hockey program. I'm so honored to be here tonight among the many individuals who have contributed to Johnson High School athletics. I want to give first a special thank you to Principal Oliveira, who I am honored to call one of my dearest friends. The influence that she has had on the culture of ALJ in the last 4 years should not be questioned by a single person ever. Right now, ALJ is the best it has been in the 28 years since I have been here. So, thank you, Tara. I am particularly touched to be inducted tonight with Coach Bob Taylor, who played an important role in my development as a coach and who is still the example I look to as I manage the role of assistant principal at ALJ. When I began my teaching and coaching career at Johnson, Bob was my assistant principal as well as the head football coach. Not only was he a winner on the field, Bob's presence with his players and his commitment on the football field had me in awe of him. We spent a lot of time on fields adjacent to each other and learned a lot about one another out there. Bob used to say to me, "You run a first-class operation. Don't ever let anyone sit you or your girls in coach. First class, you got it?" I want to offer my heartfelt congratulations to Bob and his family on his induction tonight. It is so deserved. I also want to congratulate all of the other inductees, specifically those who went through ALJ when I was a teacher and a coach there, Ray and Brian McGill, as well as Scott Klimchek and Alex Ochaki. All of them were student athletes who at a young age were able to show total commitment to their futures and who always carried themselves with class. My most important congratulations tonight, though, is reserved for Jessica Rusin, who was an all-county and all-state player for me, who still holds the Johnson field hockey scoring record, whose talent was only overshadowed by her tremendous work ethic. Jess was also one of my AP English students and babysat my children. She was the most natural scorer, and I blame myself that her scoring record isn't even bigger. She was so athletic, we originally had her in the midfield when she belonged on the forward line. Through all of her accolades and accomplishments, Jess always remained humble and driven, the mark of an elite competitor. So congratulations, Jess. The only thing they got wrong is that you should have been inducted 2 years ago. Please bear with me through my thank yous. Thank you to Dr. Ortenzio, who hired me to teach in Clark, to Brian Zukowski and the Board of Education of 2006 that gave us a 7th and 8th grade field hockey program at Kumpf, to Ed Grandy, who is both my friend and my boss and who fully supports the athletic programs at ALJ, priceless. A special thank you to some Board of Education members over the years who went out of their way to support Johnson field hockey, specifically Laura Calaguire and Bob Smorrell, and God rest his soul, Tom Lewis. I knew nobody when I started working in Clark, but I made some fans of important people over the years, and I loved seeing half the Board of Education or the town council lined up on a fence at a Union County field hockey final. Thank you to the athletic directors I worked with, Tom Santaguida, who hired me as an assistant coach many moons ago, Carl Peterson, who gave me my first head coaching job and tolerated my relentless pursuit of a fair budget, a well-maintained field, and eventually equal turf time, and Gus, who sometimes against his better judgment had to just let me do it my way. Gus, who had to hear about it from me if he didn't, while we were trick-or-treating together, or at Christmas Eve dinner if I was still burned up about something 2 months later. Thank you to our amazing trainer, Jonathan Ranelli, who spent many years on the sidelines with us and who was always concerned about getting our student athletes healthy as quickly as possible. All of my assistant coaches, I wish any of them were here tonight, strong female coaches who were willing to commit to the amount of time that I demanded from them were not easy to find. And then once babies came into the mix, it was even more challenging to figure out. There were years we had multiple toddlers on the sidelines. I believe we even had a pack and play one time. It was just women helping women, letting young girls watch that, and I think we did okay. Each of those coaches contributed something special to Johnson field hockey. So I want to thank them for giving back and thank them for showing the young girls that women can, in fact, do it all. Thank you to so many of my parents over the years who contributed to our team, who helped with fundraising and organizing and hosting dinners and parties, who drove the girls to my early morning, late night, whenever we could get the turf practices. The parents who sat in the parking lot patiently waiting during my first 5 years as a head coach when I thought if we practiced for 3 hours or maybe 4, that we could beat somebody else who hadn't. Thank you for privately supporting your daughters and for publicly supporting me and our program. Some of the most magical memories I have involved these tremendous parents that I was so fortunate to know. I swear I can still hear some of their voices today, cheering from the stands. They were so positive and supportive, and even if that was because they didn't know the rules and they were just happy when the ball went in the goal, I took it and I loved it. Specifically tonight, I would like to recognize Chris and Maria DeLauro, who are here, who probably had no idea when they met me in the fall of 1998 as Joanna's 8th grade English teacher that in 2025 they would still be helping out Johnson Field Hockey. After coaching their daughters, Joanna and Gina, throughout their careers, I humbly asked them to stay in charge of our parent organization. I trusted them fully as they ran our Diamond Club. I don't think there's ever even been another treasurer other than Maria DeLauro, and they became such good friends to me. They have been there through some of the most difficult times in my life, and I know that they will always be there as my family celebrates our future milestones. The friendship and unconditional support they have offered is priceless. There is no other voice of Johnson Field Hockey than Chris DeLauro. They are simply the best this community has to offer. Their daughter, Gina, took over the helm of Johnson Field Hockey in the fall of 22 when I stepped away, and she is crushing it. I do need to give a shout out to them because they clinched the division yesterday. A special thank you to my siblings by marriage, Emma, Frank, Noel, and Gus, for their support through the years. All of them are here tonight, and my mother-in-law, Beverly, who keeps a very clear perspective in a family that is so driven by athletic competition. She'll just get to cooking and everything will be fine. Growing up with 3 older sisters was fun, but playing sports with my sisters Greta and Sarah, who are both here tonight, throughout my life is something that I treasure. We shared coaches and teammates and complaints and victories. We didn't have much when we were growing up, but we had one another, and we always had sports equipment: softball mitts, basketball, and field hockey sticks. I thank our parents for teaching us valuable lessons about doing the right thing, being kind, giving people chances, learning how to forgive, and showing us to really listen when other people speak. My father passed away suddenly during the 2009 season of a massive heart attack, and my life has been marred by many unfortunate tragedies during the 15 years since. My father's death left a great void for me, but also gave me the courage to change things that I needed to change, providing me with an awareness about the brevity of this life. It is so temporary, and there is no reason to entertain what doesn't serve you. It also revealed to me my own strength, which I would need to call on many times. My father loved that I coached. He was the kind of dad who came to all of the games my sisters and I played in high school, and he was the same when I played in college. He made sure we all knew how valued we were. My mother, who is here tonight, who wanted her daughters to be cheered for, not to cheer, who wanted us to be educated so that we could take care of ourselves, and who has handled every situation I have ever seen her handle with the utmost grace. She is the most steadfast and reliable person I know. She exudes class at all time, and while I can swear like a sailor, my mother has a diplomacy with words that I can only aspire to. So thank you for always supporting me and for being so darn easy to admire. My kiddos, Shepherd, who is just a miracle of love with 2 speeds, going to sleep, who holds so much excitement and promise as he starts all of his competitive years of sports, mostly fishing though. Ty, who has the heart of a saint, who is compassionate and who always grounds me with his vast global knowledge. And my sweet Tatum, here tonight after a season and career-ending injury in one of her final field hockey games, left her needing foot surgery in Maryland yesterday morning. Her love for the game has been such a blessing. What a gift it has been to watch her play these last 4 years, to let me continue to analyze the game itself while having the pleasure of watching her thrive and struggle and compete, and mostly to watch her come to the realization that she will likely be in the classroom and on the sideline one day soon, carrying on this family legacy. Coaching her was the absolute best opportunity I have ever had. And as a result, we are more than mother-daughter, we are more than best friends. We are sewn together in our love for this game. Matthew, words are not your thing, but actions are. As an athlete, coach, husband, father, stepfather, nephew, brother, and son, your actions speak for themselves. Thank you for understanding me as a coach, a person, and a mom. Thank you for keeping perspective for me while I was coaching and reminding me every day to enjoy each second of our lives together. My love for the game of field hockey was born at a winter clinic in the gym at Orange Avenue School in Cranford, New Jersey. It grew as I played through middle and high school. We were good in Cranford. We won the Union County Championship every year, and we typically ended each season with a late loss deep in the state tournament. My love for the game grew even more as I played at Montclair State, but I truly understood that this game had taken hold of me once I began to coach it. I spent 2 years at West Essex High School, 1 year each with Linda Alimi and Jill Koss, two of the most successful high school coaches in not only New Jersey, but in the nation. Their styles were both different than any other I had seen along my way, and there were many things I adopted as a result of my time there. As a recently hired teacher in the summer of 1998, I applied for a coaching position at ALJ, and I was given the assistant job by Tom Santaguida. I worked with Betty Jane Franks, who had followed the field hockey team over from Brearley after deregionalization. She told me that she had 2 years, told me to run preseason, and true to her word, she handed over the reins in the summer of 2000. Carl Peterson took a chance by giving a young me the head job, and I took the responsibility seriously. I had no idea at the time how field hockey would eventually reflect so much of who I was, would motivate who I wanted to be, or how it would cradle me through my darkest times, feed my soul and my heart when it was broken. Our program was my baby. I knew the power that I had been given instinctually. I knew that because in the halls of my memory were coaches that I had admired for their position, even if I didn't like them, whose approval I craved, even though I didn't gel with their particular coaching style. And I guess that I took that little egg of power and I nested it so carefully because I understood the fragility of it all. And I vowed to myself that every girl I coached would love this game, would love our team, and would respect me. We're all dreamers in our 20s. But those were the foundational beliefs that I took into the building of this program, the house that we would all live in, would call our own. I wanted to be the project manager. I would give all of them the very challenging job of enduring my practices, meeting my standards, but the rewards for them would be the belonging, the learning that discipline matters, the learning that we rise when we push ourselves, that we love what we work for, that knowing we deserve something makes it so much sweeter. I wanted to make a name for Johnson field hockey in a town that was dominated by soccer and softball, in a county that posed the challenges of besting the private school juggernauts, in a state that had cemented legends of the game like Bobby Schultz from Shawnee, Linda Alimi from West Essex, and Nancy Williams from Shore Regional. I wanted to play their field hockey with girls I had prepared and nurtured and built a foundation with, and it worked. In 2004, we headed to Madison to play a top 5 team in the state, and we took them to double overtime in a sectional final. They were in shock, and we were officially on the map. I was tireless. I scouted. I sent my girls to sleepaway camp together, 1980s style. We packed 40 girls in one kitchen or basement in Clark or Garwood 10 times a season. We had sleepovers, dance parties, crowned homecoming queens and prom queens. We ruled the school. Everyone knew the field hockey girls. It was like a movie. I promise I'm not delusional about this. We had swagger before they even called it that. The culture of a team is everything. And the buy-in from the players is incentivized by one thing: the feeling of being special. My players would tell you about the themes I gave them before each season. The day we announced varsity, the hard hats and the piggy banks, the rungs of a ladder or the locks, the lemons, the clocks, the skateboards and puzzle pieces which make no sense to you, maybe only to Jess, and Jess, so over there. The girls will tell you about the eves of the county finals, the pregame speeches, the endless ribbons. I think I purchased over 2,000 yards of ribbons in the 22 years I coached. I told them to watch Miracle on Ice before we played Oak Knoll every year in the county final. I found new runs at field hockey coaching conventions, the Gauntlet, and the Egyptian Tabata, which were years after the mothers and the sprints. I made them do yoga, meditate. We had pre-game piñatas and house decorating, and I left them notes in their lockers and in their first period classes. I was full-blown nuts most of the time. I exchanged film strategically with other coaches to have a leg up on an opposing team. I watched film late into the night, sometimes with a newborn in my arms that I was likely not going to see much over the next few days. I coached hard because I live hard. It's who I am. Some years I know I was better than others. There were years my real life crept in and personal tragedies brought me a new sense of awareness of the fragility of life. And during those years, Johnson Field Hockey gave me so much more than I gave it. It saved my life at least 3 times, probably more. And that's what my coaching career was, an absolute love affair with the game of field hockey. I love to win, and we won. 3 divisional titles, 3 state sectional championships, and 1 unbelievable night when we finally took down Oak Knoll on turf at Memorial Field in Cranford. 2 weeks after my dad died. But it was always my love for the girls that trumped any wins. I was so privileged to coach every one of them. Each of them became a daughter to me. Some were more difficult than others, and there was a lot to navigate sometimes. Girls who didn't like one another, whose parents didn't like one another, who had different levels of commitment, but I loved all of them relentlessly, because that kind of love does a lot for a teenage girl. I hope that I played a small role in turning them all into the absolute wonders that they are now. 54 of them played college field hockey. Some of them were national champions. They are so successful. Teachers and accountants, designers and oral surgeons, physical therapists and small business owners, occupational therapists and speech therapists and school counselors and nurses. And the best of it all is seeing them all become moms. And knowing that the second I see one of them, we pick up right where we left off. There is a comfort there that I treasure. Johnson Field Hockey was and will always be part of my family. I hope in the end that Johnson Field Hockey felt like their home and family too. It's been 4 years now since I coached a game, at least out loud. I was coaching one last week in Maryland in my head. And looking back, I laugh at some of my approaches, some of the ridiculous ways I tried to inspire them, how picky I was about the quote we put on the back of our team t-shirt, how important it was to me that they walked in 2 lines, both to the bus and off the bus. Looking back, I admire my own energy. I see it in young coaches and I love it. Looking back, I regret very little. I wish we won more. I wish we lost less. I wish we had beaten West Essex just once. I wish no team had failed to reach its potential because of high school girl drama. I wish they all could have been best friends like so many of them still are today. I wish I had gotten some girls more minutes, especially on senior day when the game got too close and I felt like a jerk. Looking back, I wouldn't change much, except 1 or 2 corners when I didn't read the defense correctly and a couple bad timeouts that I called. But Johnson Field Hockey made me the teacher I was, the administrator I am, and definitely the mother I am today. So I hope Coach Taylor was right. Hopefully the girls who played for me always felt like they had bought a first-class ticket to high school field hockey, that they were treated like someone who mattered, like someone who deserved the best and felt like something special because they took a seat in the right section on the plane. I love Arthur L. Johnson High School. It was not my high school as a student, but it is my school. Clark isn't where I was raised, but is most certainly the town that I call home. Congratulations again to all of the other inductees, and go Johnson.
Our next inductee, outstanding athlete and star lacrosse player, Mr. Jason Pressman. Jason graduated ALJ class of 1990. Jason was an all-group 2 player in football as a senior, a winter track standout, and a talented basketball player before that, and one of the top lacrosse defensemen in the state of New Jersey during his playing days. He earned honorable mention All-Metro in the Daily Journal his junior season and was selected first team All-County and first team All-Metro in the Daily Journal his senior year. Jason was a 3-time Star Ledger All-State lacrosse selection and was named a high school All-American in both his junior and senior seasons before taking his lacrosse talents to Johns Hopkins University, where he played for the Blue Jays for 3 seasons. He was voted the team's most improved senior and top defenseman in 1994. Jason was named to the Star Ledger lacrosse team for the decades for the 1980s and was enshrined in the New Jersey Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 2002. He was selected by NJ.com to ALJ's Mount Rushmore in 2021. Jason is currently an attorney at law for Markovich, Burke, and Stanicki. One of my best friends throughout high school, I am beyond overjoyed that he is being recognized for being one of the all-time great Crusaders. Jason Pressman.
I didn't write anything down. If this were about me, I probably wouldn't have come. The only thing that got me here tonight was to close my eyes and think about the guys I played with and the coaches that coached me and guys that I coached when I was there. I did coach a little bit at the high school afterwards. I'm lucky enough to know Ray and Brian and Scott and Alex, Alex, he was here before in lacrosse, but you'll meet the other guys. I couldn't have made it here tonight without thinking about them and coming for them. But if I could, I would go back in time right now, and I'd go back to the days when I was coaching those guys. I'd go back to my playing days. I'd go back to 1995 when I was at the football game and I was watching the Johnson 95 team play Summit up at Summit. I saw that game. I'd go back to watching Jim Bodner, who you're going to meet, play basketball. He could throw the ball. I'd go back to the guys and girls that I don't know. I met Kenny Petrin here. I was reading his bio. I'd like to go back and go head to head with Kenny Petrin, but I'm looking how big he is. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm sitting with Warren Brown. I'd like to try to attempt to tackle him. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. Coach Taylor's on this list. I played against him when he was coaching Kenilworth, and we were on the 88 team. I don't. There's a few I don't know. I don't know Bill. I don't know Jess. I did not know Lynn or Patty, but I wish that I did, and I'll try to meet everybody here tonight. There's a couple people on here that aren't on here that I'd like to thank. I see Steve Cicatelli here. He was our coach in 1988 for football. He would. And I asked him if I stand up here before everyone and tell him that the 88 team would give the 95 team a run for the money, will you come up here and back me up on that? He said yes. I hope so. My other football coach is here. Without injuries. My other football coach is here. He was also my lacrosse coach. It's Jim Caravellano. So without Jim Caravellano, there in addition to coaching football, there would be no lacrosse in Clark at all. Some of us here tonight, we wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for Jim Caravellano, and he got us started in middle school. There were not that many teams playing lacrosse at the time. It was a strange, weird sport, and he found it. I think he went to Cortland State. I think he was there with some of these other famous coaches, and he took that and he brought it to Clark, New Jersey, and that's that's how I got started, and I just want to thank him. I was talking to him before I came up here, and he said, you know, my granddaughter's playing lacrosse. I said, really? He goes, yeah. She got a scholarship to North Carolina to play goalie. So I just paid to subscribe to the Boston Globe on my phone so I could read about it a little bit, and I read the whole article, and just at the end of the article, it says that she's blossomed into a dominant goalie and skillfully steered the Hornets to 3 state deep tournament runs. Caravellano also has become a youth coach and given back the same way her coach did, Pomeroy. She knows how supporting someone at a young age can help them believe in their abilities and build towards the future. So, I mean, that's how I feel. That's how I feel what Mr. C, Jim Caravellano, did, and I'm happy to see that, you know, it's carrying on with his granddaughter at the University of North Carolina now. And yeah, I do want to thank Gus. Gus and I, he have been friends for a long time, since I don't know, since we were 10, 5th grade maybe, and. I think from the first moment I met him, we've been talking sports. His love for Syracuse basketball, you can ask him why. Football, he and I were together all the way from start to finish, and you know, if it wasn't for guys like Gus and guys like Jim and some of the other guys, I don't know that I would have even played football in the first place. So I just want to thank all the coaches and all the familiar faces that I see out here for everything that you've ever done for sports and for me, and that's it. I have nothing else to say.
At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Robert Small, longtime Clark Board of Education member and ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame committee member, to introduce the next Crusaders that will be inducted into the Arthur L. Johnson Second Athletic Hall of Fame class. Mr. Small.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be and honored to be presenting 3 ALJ Hall of Fame inductees. I was extremely fortunate to be able to see all 3 of these athletes perform in high school and college, and I was even more fortunate to have coached 2 of them as youths. All 3 were outstanding multi-sport athletes that left their mark on ALJ. I'd like to start by introducing the first inductee, Ray McGill, class of 2003. Ray was a 3-sport athlete who played football, track, and lacrosse. He was a 3-year Leonard winner in football, where he played at safety and punter. It was in lacrosse, however, where Ray really left his mark. He was a gold letter winner and starter on defense all 4 years. In his senior year, he was selected team captain and voted the team MVP. Ray gained all-conference and all-state honors that year and was also named a high school All-American by U.S. Lacrosse. He played in the National New Jersey Tri-State All-Star Games, earning MVP honors in the New Jersey game. I'd like to note that during his 4 years, Ray also played alongside 2003 ALJ Athletic Hall of Famer Matt Posque, so that was some combination. Upon graduating from ALJ, Ray accepted a lacrosse scholarship to the University of Maryland, one of the top lacrosse schools in the country. He worked his way to become a starter midway through his freshman year, and was a key contributor to the team that went on to win the ACC Tournament Championship. In his sophomore and junior seasons, Ray became one of the premier defensive players in the country. He earned all ACC and All-American honors during both those years. In his senior season, Ray was voted the team's MVP. He was an All-ACC selection and a second-team All-American. In addition, he was nominated for the prestigious Tewaaraton Award, which is presented to the National Player of the Year, and the Schmechler Memorial Cup Award, which is presented to the outstanding defensive player in college lacrosse. Some honor. During his 4 years at Maryland, Ray's teams won 2 ACC championships and went to 2 NCAA Final Fours. After graduating from Maryland, Ray was selected as the 9th pick in the first round of the Major League Lacrosse draft. He went on to play 8 years of professional lacrosse and won a championship with the Chesapeake Bayhawks in 2010. In 2029, Ray was named by NJ.com to ALJ's Mount Rushmore. Ray currently resides in Maryland with his wife, Taryn, and their 4 children, Addison, Bodie, Haven, and Walker. He works as the Chief Operating Officer at Hand in Hand Construction. At this time, I would like to call Ray McGill up to accept his plaque on gaining induction to the 2023 class of ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame.
Wow, what a crowd. Thank you guys all for coming out tonight. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to everybody at Johnson. Thank you to my parents, who my dad put down the baseball, not the glove, but he put down the baseball and played catch with me in the backyard when I first learned what lacrosse was. We'll get into my mom later because I don't think she's ever watched the lacrosse game. She just paces the stadium around and around. But I always call my mom and my sister like my mental proxies. Ms. Anderson-Dobbins, Katrina probably knows that my mom, my sister probably did most of my English in school. It transferred to college too. They also serve as my memory bank for a lot of things, courtesy of a few concussions. But it was my sister who sent in a text message, and I completely blanked on this. But she just put Mr. Hoos. I was like, Mr. Hoos, why does the middle school baseball coach have anything to do with this right now? And I thought about it longer and longer, and I knew in 6th grade that I wasn't going to play baseball at Conf. Teams were just too good. Mr. Hoos did a fantastic job with them. A lot of talented athletes on the teams. And I just knew I wasn't going to make it, so I went out for lacrosse. And the first time playing, courtesy of Mr. C for getting all the equipment and stuff like that. I came home and, my mom looked at my gloves and was like, what's all these holes in the gloves for? I was like, I don't know. I just got them. They gave me these pads that were huge. Just started playing. Later find out in my college career in high school that holes in your gloves were illegal and we're not supposed to play with them. Gave you better grip on your stick. But in 7th grade, I went out for the baseball team again, and I was like, I'm going to get it this time. I can pitch the ball faster, I can run faster, hit better, and I got cut. And it was that defining moment that not only changed my entire life, but I would probably say it changed my entire family's life. Because if it wasn't for me starting to play lacrosse, not many of us knew what lacrosse was, or continuing it on. So I don't know if Brian and I would be here tonight if it wasn't for Mr. Hoos. I really don't. I honestly don't. So Mr. Hoos cut me in 7th grade, Conf baseball, and Coach Van Bergen grabbed me, and he was like, hey, listen, you can come back to the lacrosse team. I was like, but you gotta make me one promise. I was like, what's that? He's like, you gotta play lacrosse in 8th grade. I was like, done. And I was in, right? And so basically from that time of 7th grade, 8th grade, under Coach Van Bergen's tutelage, I was passed off to Coach Pressman, and Coach Calandra and Coach Medvedich, who were all phenomenal coaches. But they were even better people. They instilled a great work ethic into all of us. But Coach Pressman, I walked into Johnson the first spring, and he took my short stick out of my hands. Was the first one who made me a defenseman. And then off to the races we went. And I not off to the races that going, but literally in changing positions constantly. Because I went from playing long stick midi to defense, back to long stick midi, back to defense. I think I played some man up on the offensive end towards the end of my career at Johnson. But it was amazing. He not only for all the coaches that coached him, kind of transferred over to me. So for all you guys that did coach him, thank you for me, because he grabbed everything that you taught him, his work ethic, his drive. He's fine. His work ethic, the drive, that work ethic to basically run on Friday nights when your friends were going out hanging out, to hit the gym all the time, even when he, tells you to put 315 on the bar and you blow at your low back. It was all part of it. But the weight room, courtesy of him, really changed the game for me, right? Once you were able to start, and football players, everybody knows this, once you get that confidence and you could start, running over people and everything, and it becomes a lot more fun. It was that whole Johnson, mentality. Just grind, just keep working. Coach Taylor taught us the same thing in football. Just grind, just keep working. Good things will come. I wasn't the best of athletes, but I knew how to work hard. And having him and some of the other guys push that through really helped tremendously. The college career is the college career, the pro career is the pro career. But the true blessing, and the reason why I still kept playing pro as long as I could, was just to play with my brother Brian, whether it was in the same game, same team, or just opponents. I think we got that once or twice, and then it was I was like, I'm done. Too much traveling. And then coaching now, and inspiring to be a good coach like these guys were and what they instilled in me, that's how I ended up meeting my wife, by coaching her little brother. So lacrosse has really done, amazing things for me. I've been coaching club teams and running the club lacrosse program down in Maryland for almost 20 years now, just on my way out of it. But I've had a lot of voicemails that were pretty amazing. Guys going to Virginia. Dads calling me up that I changed from, same thing, taking a defenseman and putting a short stick in his hand and changing their lives. And those phone calls are pretty amazing. When you change someone else's life the way that Coach Pressman did, the way that Coach Van Bergen did, the way that Mr. C did for that class, it's pretty special. And I'm honored to be here, honored to be in front of a bunch of other inductees. My mom's over there probably crying, maybe. But I just want to say thank you. If everybody had a glass, I'd say raise it to Mr. Hoos, because without him, I probably wouldn't be here. To my amazing wife, Taryn, who's over there wrangling the circus as best she can. But thank you. It's truly an honor. Appreciate all of you. Mom and Dad, thank you. Brian, Jess, thanks for always being there. And that's all I got.
So with that, I just want to make one point of note. I want to congratulate my fellow committee members. This is now the second induction class that has gone in, and this committee has worked extremely hard in terms of identifying the inductees that should be going into the class. And I just think when you look at the resumes of the 2023 class and this 2025 class, the resumes are just off the charts. They really are. So I just want to, big thank you to my fellow committee members for doing just an outstanding job in identifying the 2023 and the 2025 inductees that are going in. So the next inductee I'd like to present is Ray's younger brother, Brian McGill, class of 2009. I like to say it's Brian. It's Ray's little brother, but when you see the size of Brian, he's not his little brother. It's just, you could just say he's his younger brother. As I noted earlier, I had the good fortune to coach and see Brian play as a youth, and everyone could tell at that time that Brian had the ability to be a special athlete, and that he did. Brian was a three-sport athlete at Johnson. He started in football, where he was a 3-year letter winner, and as a senior, he gained all Union County and all Group 2 honors, playing on a 2008 team coached by our own Gus Kalikas that went to the state section final. However, Brian learned his love for the game of lacrosse through his older brother, Ray, and Brian always looked up to Ray and kind of brought that passion. And that's where Brian really created his own legacy. Brian was a team captain and the MVP in his senior year. He earned first team all-conference and all-state honors that year, along with being named the high school All-American by U.S. Lacrosse. Brian was selected to play in the North Jersey North-South All-Star Game, and at the end of the year, Brian was named ALJ's 2000 Male Athlete of the Year. Upon graduating from ALJ, Brian accepted a lacrosse scholarship to Syracuse University, considered by many to be the top lacrosse program in the country. You're gonna see an eerie theme here when you listen to Ray's accolades, and now you're gonna listen to Brian's accolades. Brian became an immediate starter on defense in his freshman year at Syracuse. As a sophomore, he was recognized as one of the top defensive players in the conference, earning second-team All-Big East honors. In his junior and senior seasons, Brian was a unanimous All-Big East selection, earning second-team All-American honors. In both years, he was a candidate for the Tartan Award presented to the National Player of the Year, similar to his brother Ray. And Brian is Syracuse's current record holder for caused turnovers. During Brian's 4 years at Syracuse, his team either won the Big East regular season championship or won the Big East tournament. That's just a great accomplishment. Brian was also represented on Team USA at the World Indoor Games, taking the bronze medal. Upon graduating from Syracuse, Brian was selected as the 7th pick in the first round of the Major League Lacrosse draft. He went on to play 3 years of professional lacrosse in the MLL. In 2021, Brian was named by NJ.com to ALJ's Mount Rushmore. Today, Brian resides in Massachusetts with his wife Jackie and their 2 children, Charlie and Mia. And right now, they are currently expecting their 3rd child in January. Brian is currently employed at Pendo as an enterprise account director. At this time, I would like to call up Brian McGill to accept his plaque on gaining induction into the 2023 class of ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame.
First off, I want to stand up here and congrats all the inductees tonight, both the teams and the individuals. I've walked the halls with many of them, and it's amazing to see you now in life successful with family and kids and knowing what young little idiots we were in high school. To see where you are tonight, it's very special. Got a little bit of a theme to this speech. An All-American never takes his helmet off. Little story is my freshman year, I was lucky enough to get the nod to play varsity in lacrosse, and we were blowing out some team. So, natural if you played any sport, the starters come out and you get some guys on the that are supporting in practice on the bench, some playing time. So all the starters sat down on the bench, grabbing water. We're joking about, okay, whose house are we going to tonight to party? Destroying this team. This is a good time. Coach Nick Medvedich, assistant coach at the time, I'll never forget, honestly one of the best looking humans alive, pulled me aside and said something to me that I would honestly never forget. He pulled me aside and he said, an All-American never takes his helmet off. I don't think he understood the impact that would have on my life. What started as a sports cliche to me turned into a life credo. It meant so much more than just in between the lines of any athletic sport that I was playing. It wasn't about supporting my teammates till the final whistle. It was really a mindset. To me, it was showing up, it was being present, doing everything you can, 110%. Whether it was playing sports, whether it was going to class, whether it's raising a family, being with your friends, you hold yourself to a different standard when you're around everyone. It's kind of that character cliche that everyone talks about, but truly, it was something I've taken to me and I've taken on to kids that I've coached. All-Americans never take their helmet off. So Nick, I got to thank you for that one. I stand here full of gratitude for being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but I am a byproduct of this community here in Clark. Without the bubble that we were raised in here in Clark, the ability to go out and bike ride around town and not worry about, really anything, and everyone's parents being bought into, hey, when the streetlights are on, you come home. Like, this is where I got all of my best friends and my teammates for life. So, I truly attribute a lot of why I'm here today to this. Now, I know I'm up here for High School Hall of Fame, and my high school journey starts well before actually getting to high school. I actually was the water boy for the football team since Ray was playing on it. And I'll never forget, me and J.J. Newman and Lou Caparasso, we would always fight to get there first to see who can hold Matt Poske's water bottle for the game. It was the best job because it was the easiest job. You only had to hold one water bottle, not 6. But honestly, on that sideline is like, the Johnson football players at the time were Alabama to me. They were huge, they were massive, they were gritty, they were strong. And that's where it instilled in me that Johnson tradition of winning, of grit, of perseverance, of it didn't matter what we had for resources or what kids we had in town. Like, we were Clark, we were Johnson, right? And we took that grit, that perseverance to every single game that we played. And there wasn't a game that I don't think we played that we didn't think we were going to win. Whether it was through just pure discipline or whether it was pure, it didn't matter. We were going to win every single game that we played because of it. You got to keep in mind, I played team sports, I played defense, so if my name was in the paper, I had a really bad day. And I wouldn't be up here without any of my teammates today, honestly. To all my coaches, Mr. Caparasso and Pop Warner, Miss Ramundo for rec soccer, travel soccer, driving me to every game, Mr. Smorrell for Little League baseball, travel. We probably owe you money for shoulder surgery after all the batting practice. The parents in this community are the foundation for why I'm here, stepping up and coaching. I'm a parent now. The last thing I want to do at 7 o'clock at night is go coach. And you guys stepped up and you made sure that we had the resources and the facilities to go and do it. Thank you. Mr. Hoos, didn't have that on my bingo card tonight. Appreciate you, Mr. Hoos, for cutting Ray. Never would have been here without it. Mr. Van Bergen for taking a chance on Ray. I can't explain what Pressman was to Ray, Mr. Van Bergen was to me. To Coach Kalikas, I'd give my pinky toe to hear you yell "take a lap" in 2-a-days one more time. Your ability to relate, to guide us, to teach us discipline is, I think, what most of the football players here in this room are, why they're here today. So thank you. To my teammates and friends, everyone kind of forgets. There's 4 to 6 practices for every one game. You don't get better playing games. You get better because of the teammates that show up in shape every single day, pushing you to be your best. So a couple guys here, Chris Danucci, Scott, Matt Klimchek, a couple guys that aren't here, Dan Dugan, Christian Chavez, Damon Padilla, Robert Mundo, Guido Robozio, Vin Ferdinandi, J.J. Newman, Mike Riccio, half the Italian mob on that list. You guys are my teammates for life, and I can't thank you enough. To my family, to my siblings, Ray and Jess, hell of a trailblazer you left me to fail. Jess, rose between 2 thorns, literally. Probably the best athlete of the family. Incredible pitcher in softball, incredible field hockey player. Went to Stevens for field hockey, switched to softball, took them club to D3. All right, cool. Brian's going to do great. Straight A's, AP classes, homecoming nomination, not me. Ray, I'll never forget this. Ray, yes, you're the golden child, the trailblazer. You set the standard for what it is to be a McGill in Clark, New Jersey, and in this community. I was getting interviewed, I don't know, Star Ledger or whatever. They're like, hey, you and your brother, you're great lacrosse players, but you guys are so different. What do you mean? He's like, well, your brother's so fast, and he's skinny, and he's ripped, and he runs like a deer, and you're like a water buffalo. It's like, okay, all right, thank you. But every time someone said that, it was a reminder for me to what it meant to be great at something, to want to get better, right? I would walk around town, hey, Ray's running the loop again, Jess got straight A's, love her in my class. Brian, what are you doing? Thank you for setting the standard for me growing up in this community. Thank you for blazing a trail. Did my best to stay on track. To my parents, Ray and Joanne, you two are the bumpers to the bowling alley of life. You kept just enough, probably my bumpers are a little wider, but you gave us just enough bandwidth to make mistakes on our own, to grow as individuals, to grow as people. But you stepped in when you had to. Thank you for the sacrifices, the extra jobs, the long weekends, driving to every one of Ray's games when I was trying to hang out with my friends, the long road trips. Mom, you told me this years ago, you probably don't remember, you told me the older I get, the smarter you become. Now I have a new team, and my wife Jackie, my daughter Mia, my son Charlie, and our third on the way. My helmet's still on, my chin strap's a little looser now. It's a little looser, but the helmet stays on. And that saying could not be truer every day that I live and breathe on this earth. So thank you. And a big thank you to Mr. Smorrell for keeping me organized tonight, telling me what to wear. That was a topic of conversation. So really appreciate it. Congrats to everyone tonight. Thank you for putting this together. This has been amazing. Thank you.
So, little theme here. You can see obviously that Brian and Raymond had a very close brotherly relationship. The next inductee that I want to announce, my final one that I'm going to present, also has a strong brothers relationship. He's got a bunch of brothers that have all really been outstanding athletes, which obviously helped him. So that inductee that I'd like to present right now is Scott Klemchek, class of 2009. Just like Brian McGill, Scott was an outstanding athlete as a youth that I had the good fortune to coach. If there was a sport to be played, Scott excelled at it. He was a three-sport athlete at Johnson, starring in football, hockey, and lacrosse. In football, Scott played alongside Brian and was part of that 2008 state final team. He led the team in interceptions, and as a result, he was selected All-Mountain Valley Conference at the safety position. In hockey, Scott was an outstanding goalie, leading the team to the Union County Championship in his senior year. For his efforts, he was selected All-Conference and All-Central Jersey. And for his career, Scott recorded the most wins and shutouts at goalie in ALJ school history. Scott was a four-time letter winner in lacrosse. He led the state in scoring as a junior with 134 points and was named the team's MVP. Scott was a first-team All-Conference and All-Union County selection in both his junior and senior seasons. In addition, he was an all-state selection in both years, gaining first-team honors as a junior. Scott was also recognized by the U.S. Lacrosse as an All-American and was selected to play in the North-South All-Star Game. For his career, Scott remains one of New Jersey's top 10 all-time scoring leaders. Upon graduating from ALJ, Scott accepted a lacrosse scholarship to Rutgers University, where he was a four-year starter, leading the team in scoring all 4 years. Scott was an All-Big East selection in 2012, and he received the William Miller Award as Rutgers Player of the Year. Scott's 124 career goals rank 8th all-time in Rutgers lacrosse history. Upon graduating from Rutgers, Scott went on to play professional lacrosse for 3 years in the Major Lacrosse League. Scott currently resides in his hometown of Clark with his wife Gina and their 2 children, Scotty and Navy. He's a business partner of the Novice Sports Apparel Company. At this time, I would like to call up Scott Klemchek to accept his plaque on gaining induction into the 2023 class of ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this incredible honor. It truly means the world to me. I want to congratulate all of the other inductees tonight, especially my good friends Brian McGill, an absolute beast on the field, and an even better friend, and Alex Ochoki, a true Olympian and one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. I'm proud to share the stage with you guys tonight and all of the other inductees. To my coaches, thank you. Coach Mike Nudo and John Nudo, thank you for teaching me what it's like to be a champion. Under your leadership, we won multiple tournament championships and conference cups, and I learned what it meant to play with pride, discipline, and grit. I truly had the time of my life playing for you guys. Coach Calandra and Coach Van Bergen, and Coach Pressman. Thank you for pushing me, believing in me, and helping me grow, both on and off the field. Coach Pasque, growing up, you were one of my role models, a true offensive mastermind. I studied your game, and I tried to model mine after yours. Having the chance to eventually be coached by you, and now coach our kids together, is one of the best full circle moments of my career. Coach Kalikas, thank you for convincing my parents on back to school night nonetheless to let me and my brother Matt join the football team our senior year. That decision gave us one of the most unforgettable experiences of our lives. Going on a state championship run with an amazing group of teammates and coaches, I'll always be grateful for that opportunity. To my family, my beautiful wife Gina, thank you for being by my side every step of the way. For 17 years, you've had my back through everything. The long practices, the wins, the losses, the injuries, and all of life in between. You've always been there. I wouldn't want to do life with anyone else. For years, I've had to hear that the only name in the rafters at Johnson is Gina's. Leading scorer, basketball legend. I am so relieved that tonight that finally changes. And now my kids can finally hear that it's not just their mother who was once athletic. To my brothers, Michael and Brian, you showed me early what it looked like to be competitive and relentless. Brian, one of Montclair State's all-time leading goal scorers in lacrosse. Michael, the winningest tennis player in TCNJ history and a TCNJ Hall of Famer himself. Watching you both chase greatness made me want to chase it too. And Matt, my twin brother. There's nothing in the world like growing up and playing every single sport, every single game, side by side. From backyard battles to college games at Rutgers, those memories mean more to me than any trophy or induction ever could. I wholeheartedly believe that injuries were the only thing that held you back from standing right here beside me today. But with that being said, I know I'm only here because of you. You're a Hall of Famer in my eyes, brother. To my dad, thank you for being my biggest critic and my biggest supporter. You and Mom would do anything and everything for me and my brothers. You made every sacrifice so that we could chase our dreams. Every fall and summer, you'd load up the car and drive us countless hours to Maryland, Long Island, wherever lacrosse took us, you were there. You taught me to respect the game, my teammates, and my coaches. Maybe not the refs. You challenged me to be not just a better player, but a better man. I hope I can be half the dad you were and still are to us for Scotty and Navy. All right. And to my mom, who we lost in 2018, my biggest fan. Not a day goes by that I don't think about you and the influence that you had on my life. I know you're up there bragging about your 2 sets of twins and how great you think we are. I hope your Scottie Pippen is making you proud. Thank you.
While they're going for their picture, as I said to you earlier, I coach these guys as youths, and you know, it looks like there's this big love fest now between the brothers. But I coached Matt and Scott together on a baseball field. Matt was a dominant pitcher, but if he would lose the strike zone, Scott was out in center field yelling, "Come on, Matt, throw a strike!" At this time, I'd like to call up Ms. Tracy Hayden, ALJ Hall of Fame committee member and 2003 Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, to present our next inductees.
Our next Hall of Fame inductee, a gifted student athlete, graduated in 2010. She was a 4-year gold letter winner in both field hockey and track and field. In her senior year of track and field, she was a key contributor to the girls' track and field Mountain Division Championship, earning first place in shot put and javelin events. In field hockey, over her 4 years of playing, she was a key contributor to the team's first 20-win season and Group 2 state section and Union County championships. She had the most single-season goals and assists in ALJ history and finished as ALJ's all-time leading scorer and assists. She was named first team All-County, first team All-Group 2, and second team All-State. Was Union County Offensive Player of the Year, Star Ledger Union County Player of the Year, Team Captain, and MVP. Earning an athletic scholarship to play field hockey at Quinnipiac University, she continued her offensive dominance on the field. She holds the single-season record for goals scored and is the all-time leading goal and point scorer in the school's history. Was first team MAC and all-time All-Mid-East Region selection as a senior, and recognized as one of the leading MAC female student athletes in conference history. After graduating Quinnipiac, she completed grad school at Rutgers with a doctorate in physical therapy. She currently specializes in pediatric PT and is also certified in pelvic floor rehabilitation. She resides in Garwood with her husband, high school sweetheart Lenny, and their 3 beautiful children. It is my pleasure to welcome Jess Rusin.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to extend a tremendous congratulations to every athlete being honored tonight. I think we can all agree that ALJ Athletics played a monumental role in our high school experience, even shaping who we are today. While being recognized tonight is one of the greatest honors I've ever received, what I'm most proud of is the life I've built with the people I love. The amazing bond my husband and I have, the everyday joy of building a life and a family together, and the steady support from those who have been there since the start. These are what I'm most grateful for. The same people who once spent countless hours driving to games, sacrificing weekends, and cheering from the sidelines are here tonight, without hesitation, putting their own lives and families on pause to stand by my side once again. Without you, Lenny, Dad, Mom, Matt, Marissa, Amanda, I honestly don't know where I'd be. A million thank yous will never be enough for everything you've all done for me. I also want to give an extra special thank you to Coach, who is here tonight and is so incredibly deserving of this honor. There aren't enough words to explain the positive influence she's had on me, not only on my field hockey career, but on my young life as a whole. And while the stats and numbers look great on paper, it was my teammates, the amazing girls I was so fortunate to play alongside of, who made me look good. Some of whom are still my best friends to this day, and for that, I am forever indebted to ALJ. Once again, thank you ALJ Athletics for considering me for this remarkable achievement. It is truly an honor to stand here today, and I don't take this moment for granted. Thank you.
The introduction of our next ALJ Hall of Fame inductee is very personal and firsthand. She was a grade behind me, and we had very similar athletic careers at ALJ. We spent many years as teammates running on the same soccer fields, basketball courts, and playing softball. She was a very gifted athlete, fiercely competitive, and a very good friend. She excelled in soccer and basketball, but dominated on the softball field. She made first team All-Union County each year in softball, was a key player of the Union County Softball Championship as a sophomore. She was first team All-State, a 4-year letter winner, team captain, and MVP in her senior year. And her softball jersey was retired in 1984. She accepted a softball scholarship to play at the University of South Carolina, where she was a 3-year letter winner, started at third base as a freshman, and led her team in stolen bases in her junior year. After graduating, she moved to Tampa, Florida, before eventually settling in Missouri. She spent 20 years as a quality management system administrator at Gannett Fleming, where she traveled extensively, both domestically and internationally. Sadly, on July 2nd, 2025, just 2 weeks before the Hall of Fame inductees would be announced, Lynn Crone passed away. Lynn loved spending time with her family, her partner, animals, and her friends. Her love of sports and athleticism deeply influenced her nephews Mike and Dan. Inspired by her example, both earned college football scholarships. I invite Lynn's brother-in-law, Anthony, to please come forward and accept the ALJ Hall of Fame recognition in honor of Lynn Crone.
On behalf of the family, all our friends, and Lynn's partner, Jody, I'm honored to accept this award for Lynn. Lynn meant so much to all of us, especially me and her sister, Tammy. We met because Lynn played softball with you and my sister. It was an amazing time for all of us. We had a blast. So, as all of you just heard, Lynn passed away just prior to being able to find out that she was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. She truly would have been honored by all of this. And as you just heard, she was a huge influence on my boys. Good thing it was for her. Good thing it was her as opposed to my wife or I, because as you heard, my boys both earned Division I scholarships in football. And it was because of Lynn that all happened. They wore her number in high school. They honored her as much as they possibly could. Lynn bragged about them everywhere she went. So just from her family, from all her friends, from all her coaches, I didn't know any of you, honestly, but it was truly an honor to be able to hang out with them while they played softball all throughout the county. You heard about her accolades throughout the state, at South Carolina. She was truly a wonderful human being. Lynn, we miss you, we love you, and on behalf of all the family, we want to say thank you for this incredible honor for her. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to bring up Tom Long, Hall of Fame committee, longtime friend.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce the next three Hall of Fame inductees. Fortunately, I was able to see each one of these individuals play because they were in high school around the same time as I was, and I had a chance to see just what they accomplished on the athletic field, on the court, and in school. First up, I'd like to speak about Warren Brown from the class of 1975. Warren Brown was a key three-year varsity starter in football, and as a junior, was an integral part of the 1973 Crusader team, which compiled a record of 8 wins and only 1 loss. But it was as a senior that Warren became the focal point of every opponent's defensive game plan. He rushed for 1,081 yards on 174 carries, an average of 6.2 yards per attempt for the season, which then consisted of only 9 games. He also made 64 tackles from his safety position on defense. Warren was named first team Group 3 All-State running back by the Star-Ledger, in addition earning All-Union County, All-Metro, and All-Watch-On Conference honors during that 1974 season, as he became the first 1,000-yard rusher in Crusader football history. He was a standout wrestler as well, placing 4th in the 1975 NJSIA Regional Tournament. He went on to enjoy a stellar football career at East Stroudsburg State College, now East Stroudsburg University, earning all Pennsylvania State College Athletic Conference honors at linebacker, in addition to being chosen second-team linebacker on the 1979 NCAA Division II Academic All-America team. After college, Warren embarked on a 33-year career as a teacher of physics at Rumson Fairhaven High School. During his time at Rumson Fairhaven, he coached several sports and served as advisor to the school's Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Warren is now retired and living in Toms River with his wife, Jill, who is with him here tonight. It gives me great pleasure to call up one of our new members of the ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame, Mr. Warren Brown.
It's great to represent the senior citizen class here tonight. We didn't even have lacrosse when I was there. I would have really liked it. You got to run people over. It would have been a great game for me. So, Thank you very much for the kind words, Tom. Some of the things that you mentioned I have in my address here tonight. First, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for all the work that went to put this event together. It's a great evening. Before I say a few words about my past ALJ, my post-ALJ journey, I'd like to publicly thank the ALJ coaches and teachers who influenced my life in so many ways, giving up personal time and family time for not a lot of money so that we all could be here tonight. The old timers here, if you hear these names or when you hear these names, I hope you smile and have fond memories. Coach Ed Farrington, Foster, Steve Cicatelli, Bob Susko, John Redfern, who was my wrestling coach and science teacher, Tom Galashewski, TG, both Clark guys, Redfern and Galashewski. It was my physics teacher. And Coach Marzullo, he was at Auto Shop. Do they even have Auto Shop anymore? That's where I learned all my life skills, in Auto Shop. I mean, I can do all kinds of things. I repack the bearings on my trailers. I can do all these things that now they don't teach in school that are a lot of useless stuff, but skills that are very useful I learned back then in 1975. My first job after graduating college was substitute teacher and freshman football coach at Johnson Regional. The 1980 freshman team, it was a lot of fun. At the close of that season, I took position as a sales engineer in Philadelphia. However, after 5 years in industry, I was looking to make a career change. I sent resumes to high schools in Monmouth and Ocean County, as Jill and I wanted to live near the shore. Rumson-Fairhaven Regional, pretty good field hockey team, was looking for a physics teacher and assistant football coach then. I interviewed, got the position, and began a 33-year career there, teaching and coaching science in a variety of sports. The real blessing, as Tom mentioned, for me during that time was serving as the advisor to our RFH Fellowship of Christian Athletes huddle. It was a great organization where students, we would meet before school once a week for Bible study and fellowship. It was just a great time to get to know kids in that way. I truly enjoyed my time with student athletes and trust I was able to pass on the values I learned as a Crusader student athlete. Congratulations to my fellow inductees this evening. Thank you all again. Go Crusaders and God bless.
Our next Hall of Fame inductee is Patty Jaworski from the class of 1978. An accomplished all-around athlete, Patty Jaworski was a 4-year letter winner, earning a gold letter in basketball at ALJ, while also competing for the Crusader softball, volleyball, and track and field teams. On the basketball court, she scored a school record 1,056 points in her high school career, earning second-team All-Union County recognition as a junior and first-team All-County recognition during her senior season. For her efforts, Patty was chosen to play in the first ever New Jersey Interscholastic Coaches Association North-South All-Star Game. By the way, Patty credits the pickup games she played against her neighbors on Lefferts Lane, Jerry, John, and Ernie Hobby, for providing her with a solid foundation of hoops. So the class of 78 recognizes those names. Upon her graduation from ALJ, Patty went on to attend Seton Hall University on an athletic scholarship. After playing volleyball and softball in addition to basketball as a freshman at SHU, she focused on basketball for her last 3 years and established herself as an outstanding college player. Patty scored 1,118 points and grabbed 835 rebounds, 6th best in program history, during her 4 years as a starter for the Pirates, and she served as team captain during her senior season of 1981-1982. Patty taught physical education and health at Edison High School for 30 years, in addition to coaching high school basketball for over 25 years in the Greater Middlesex Conference, primarily at Edison and South River High Schools. Twice she was honored as the Greater Middlesex Conference Girls Basketball Coach of the Year. Patty is now retired and residing in Little Egg Harbor, where she enjoys spending time boating and days at the beach with her wife Mary, who is here with her tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, our newest Hall of Famer, Patty Jaworski.
Good evening, everyone. I have this habit of leaning over every banquet I've spoken at, so I'm just going to pick up the microphone. I'm not going to walk around and work the room or anything. But I would like to start by congratulating all the other inductees. Warren, gray hair. Why are we back and forth with one another? I don't know. But congratulations. I'd also like to thank the committee for considering me. It's very humbling to be here, especially after all these years post ALJ. I'd like to thank my wife for being here, my sister, my nieces and nephew, my best friend from high school, Nancy Flug, is here. Another great 78er who was in the last class, Rich Savali. I think that the afro was part of the induction. And also Mike Ehrenberg, who has done so much for the class of 78. He deserves to be standing up here as well. I ran into, when I first arrived, I ran into Bruce Paragallo. And I told Bruce that once I got the call from Tom to be inducted, his dad was one of the first people I thought of. Because Mr. Paragallo was like a father to me. My parents separated when I was younger, and when I was offered from Seton Hall, I had no idea what was going on. You know, as a female athlete in the 70s, this was like, what? You want to give me what? So Mr. Paragallo walked me through the whole process, and I was very thankful to have him as part of the process. As Tom mentioned, as a female athlete, I was lucky enough to grow up across the street from the Hobby family. John and Jerry and Mr. Hobby, the shot doctor himself, taught me how to shoot a free throw, and for that I am forever thankful. They taught me the love of the game, because in all honesty, I grew up a junior bowler. I spent Saturday mornings at Clark Lanes. For those of you that have been around town for a while, my mom, who, God, I wish she was here, stood in this very room and was inducted into the New Jersey State Women's Bowling Hall of Fame. And so I'm kind of honored to be standing in the same place that she was so many years ago. But when I got to high school, I said to her, you know, I'd like to try out for basketball. And she's like, well, go ahead. And I said, but there's practicing games on Saturdays. And she said, what do you mean Saturdays? You have bowling. So she's like, well, you do whatever you want. So I did whatever I wanted. I tried out, I made the team. And 4 years later, when I signed my letter of intent to attend Seton Hall on a full scholarship, because I knew my mom couldn't afford to send me to college, and I said, aren't you glad I quit bowling? She never missed a game. I asked her to come watch me play when I was going to score my 1,000th point in high school, and she came. Mike Ehrenberg asked me earlier, do you remember that game? I'm like, no. I scored my 1,000th point. They gave me the game ball. I tossed it to my mom, who was in the stands, and she never missed a game after that. She followed me all around the country when I played in college. She was at every game and very loud at every game. My college coach at Seton Hall gave her a referee's jacket and a whistle at our senior banquet. But, you know, I never knew that I would fall in love with the sport the way I fell in love with basketball. And I didn't know that basketball was going to afford me so many opportunities, especially as a female. My guidance counselor in high school was Mr. Pearson. Anybody that remembers Mr. Pearson? He called me in my senior year, and he's like, you know, Jaworski, what do you want to do when you leave here? I'm like, I want to play basketball. He's like, well, that's not what you do when you leave high school, you know. So he had some connections, and he, you know, made a call to Seton Hall for me, and they came to watch me play, and they liked what they saw, and you know, I had to visit the campus, and they offered me a full scholarship. I was there by myself. My mom was working. You know, the coach there was awesome. She's like, you know, go home, talk to your mom, let her know what's going on. So I accepted their offer, and it was nice to play close to home because somebody mentioned earlier the Daily Journal. You know, I was in the papers whether I played well or didn't play well. They were always printing everything for the local kids. But it was after I left Seton Hall that I really understood what athletics was all about, because I started my career teaching and coaching. You know, and being part of the ALJ Athletics Hall of Fame is really something special, but there's a different kind of Hall of Fame. The kind of Hall of Fame where you're still in touch with your players from when they were teenagers. The kind of Hall of Fame where you're invited to their weddings, and the kind of Hall of Fame where you get to hold their children when they're born. And that impact that you have on young kids into their adult lives is something irreplaceable. So, I just want to thank athletics for giving me that gift. Again, I want to thank my family for being here, and I want to thank all the committee for this humbling experience, and congratulations again to all the other inductees.
I'd like to introduce our next Hall of Fame inductee, Ken Petrin of the class of 1981. Ken Petrin achieved a very high level of individual success on both the baseball diamond and football gridiron during his years at ALJ, but it was his role in a team accomplishment that perhaps stands out the most in the annals of Crusader athletics history. As a junior, the right-handed hurler pitched a complete game as Johnson won its first and only Union County Baseball Tournament Championship, defeating New Providence 5-3. Ken was also the winning pitcher in the Crusaders' victories in the quarterfinal and semifinal round of the UCT that year. He earned second-team Group 3 All-State recognition in baseball, as well as first-team All-Metro, All-Union County, and All-Watchung Conference honors in both his junior and senior seasons of 1980 and 1981. In football, as a 2A lineman, Ken earned second-team All-State, All-Groups honors in addition to first-team All-Metro, All-Union County, and All-Watchung Conference recognition during his senior season of 1980. He played in both the North-South Football All-Star Game and the Baseball State All-Star Games after his senior seasons. Dr. Petrin has enjoyed a long career in higher education and scientific research, having served as a professor, department head, and dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Cincinnati. Currently, Ken works as the director of the University of Cincinnati Field Center and as an elected supervisor for the Hamilton County, Ohio Soil and Water Conservation District, where he partners with community organizations to restore native habits. He lives in Cincinnati with his wife, Ellen, and his sons. Our newest inductee, Dr. Ken Petrin.
Well, thank you very, very much, Tom. And thank you to the committee for all of your hard work, and it's true. And this is just a fabulous event. I did not know that there was this much behind it, and I'm really honored to get this award. So I really appreciate it. Besides my thank yous to the committee, I would like to thank the administrators. Having been an administrator, and I think one point I want to say about athletics is, it's important, and it's important for a lot of reasons, and we hear a lot of those reasons. And I'll get to one reason that I think is really worth keeping in mind. At least it's in the front of my mind. But I'd like to thank the coaches that I had over those years. Coach Larry Sturcio was our baseball coach. I think it was his first year as head coach. Fantastic job. Coach Sturcio was, when we took the field, he looked younger than about half the players on the field. And Coach Cicatelli from football. So Coach is here tonight. Great to see you tonight. Again, I think it was your first head coach opportunity, and fantastic job. But what I would really like to point out, and the biggest thank you goes to my teammates. And a few of you are here tonight. And it's great to see you. I live in Cincinnati, so I don't get to come back that often. But in my mind are some things that I credit my teammates for teaching me. And they deserve a lot of credit. So we hear a lot of good things about sports, but the one thing I'd like to point out is the power of belief. And in believing that you can achieve something. And whether you actually achieve it or not is not as important as believing and playing and following through and doing the work. And when you're out there as one, and I mean the whole team believing. And I got a feeling, because our football team had some great achievements. We played Rahway and Belleville, ranked top 3 in the state, both of them, and we played them down to the last minute, punching way above our weight. And I like to think that they didn't want to play ALJ anymore after that. But, the county tournament win with baseball, and the basketball team that was honored during the last induction ceremony. That all happened in the span of 1 year. And I think we just had players that just believed that we could do this. And we all individually believed that. And we convinced each other we could do that. And we came close or did it. And I think that's such an underrated thing, that power of a belief. And you have to have it. It's a part of what we talk about in terms of being clutch. Being clutch means you're going to believe you'll succeed, but I don't mean like, you're going off the rails, you're going all crazy, like I'm believing, No, we had good coaches, we knew our roles, we had strategy, we had structure, we had an inner calm as we were doing it. And that is an important life lesson, because life has goals, and you want to set goals that are beyond what you think or what you should think are attainable. And you can reach those goals if you believe. If you believe, you do the work, you follow through, and you're on teams that believe. So that's important for reaching goals, and also when you hit adversity. Having a team that believes that you can deal with it, you can work your way through it. And this is a great lesson in life. And I won't say too much after that, but I'd just like to say again, this is a great lesson in life, and I learned that from my teammates. So thank you very much. Thank you, ALJ. I'm really honored, and have a great night.
Let's call up Steve Petrozelli to announce our next inductee.
I got to tell you, I kidded Kenny before the dinner. When Kenny pitched for us, I was the freshman baseball coach. And if you're aware of what goes on in high school baseball now, there is a rule of how many pitches you can throw. Well, Kenny broke that. Kenny would pitch some games. He pitched like 3 games in one day. I think there was a game we lost in the county tournament at Union in his senior year. I think he pitched 13 innings. I think he threw about 200 pitches. So he may be the reason they changed the rule. Anyway, Jimmy. We have had, easy guys, easy over there. Easy. Things don't change. We have had many great 3-sport athletes, and I may be biased, but Jimmy Bodner may be the greatest 3-sport athlete we've ever had. Jimmy played 3. No, he didn't. He didn't play 3. He excelled in 3. Every sport he played, it was just once better and better. Jimmy to some people, Jimmy was a quarterback, a 3-year starter. In his senior year, a first-team All-County, first-team All-Group 2, threw for 1,600 yards, set a career mark with 30 touchdown passes and 3,000 yards in his career. A great accomplishment. And played linebacker on the defensive side of the ball. Despite poor coaching, he scored 1,390 points in basketball as a 4-year starter. Jimmy, you don't have to nod your head yes, okay? But it was a marvelous career. We didn't have the success we would have liked, but Jimmy was marvelous. That's a lot of points. He could have been a Division I player. At 6'4", football was going to be the best. But he saved the best. He may have set the best for spring that most people don't even consider him about in track. In track, he was a high jumper, long jumper, 100 meter and 200 meter. In his senior year, he went to the meet of champions in all 4 events. He was a 3-time all-county selection and finished 3rd in his senior year in the high jump in the meet of champions, way below his best that was 6'7". That is, to me, that's excelling in all 3 sports. He went on a full scholarship to Rutgers University, to play football. Just a marvelous, as good an overall athlete, in my opinion, and there is some bias there, I understand, as we've ever had. Jim Botner.
First, I'd like to thank the selection committee for such an incredible honor. Also want to, congratulate all the other congratulate all the other inductees. It's an honor to be mentioned in the same breath with you guys. I got to check that. Before I start anything, I want to just take a moment to give thanks and remembrance to my parents. They attended every one of my games. Supported both, my brother and my sister and I in everything we did. We missed them dearly. I feel their presence here tonight, and I know they're probably proud. Thanks to Mom and Dad. My older brother and sister are both here. They always took care of their little brother. There's a little age difference between us. My sister's 12 years older than me. My brother is 8 years older than me. I'm not quite sure I was planned, but I always felt wanted. My brother. The good thing about having an older brother and sister like that is they had a job, they had money, they spoiled me. So thank you to my sister Cindy and my brother Paul. I couldn't ask for a better brother and sister. When I look back at my high school career and just growing up in Clark in general, I just think about it all, the people. I had great classmates, friends, teammates, teachers, coaches. I couldn't ask for, a better community. When somebody would ask me, like, where are you from? I say, I would jokingly say, I'm from Clark, New Jersey, exit 135, home of the Hitting Crusaders. Half jokingly. But, on many occasions, I got, some of the best compliments in saying, you're from Clark. I've never met I never met a bad person from Clark. Always met, everybody I met from Clark were like salt of the earth. That's like one of the best compliments I could ever get, and I could agree with that. I was privileged to play with a lot of, great teammates. A lot of them are here tonight. You might have heard them earlier. Our football team, Todd Berger, we know about him. He was, played 6 years in the NFL. Brian Powers here. He'll probably be up here one day. A two-sport athlete. He was a D1 baseball player at Rutgers. Had opportunities to play D1 and in football as well. Our football team was just filled with tremendous athletes. I got to give a few shout outs, I'm sorry, but you might sense a little theme here. Eric Pepperocki, he was a D1 lacrosse player. And Mark Klarman, D1 lacrosse player. Bobby Gallo is here, D1 lacrosse player at Rutgers. One of the toughest guys ever met. Our senior year when we lost in the state semifinal in triple overtime. Todd didn't play in that game. He was sick. And on an opening kickoff, Robbie Gallo he got injured on the opening kickoff. Little did he know he blew his knee out. But I remember looking over the sideline. He was like trying to run it off. thinking it was just like a bump or a bruise, but he's one of the toughest guys I ever met, and I'm proud to call him a teammate, just like I am, all these other guys. Dan Tropiano's here as well. He was a captain of that team. George Visconti, he was a 3-year starter at Kutztown. I mean, we had incredible, athletes that played on that team. Gerard Bryson is here as well. My brother used to say he was, the hardest hitter on a team. You look at him now, he looks like an MMA guy, but back in the day, he was probably 138 pounds. But he could really, lay a lick. I'm proud to call, these are guys that you want to be in, have in your foxhole. It's a great group of guys. Track guys, Scott Obden is here. He was a valedictorian at Johnson, smartest guy I ever met. He came up here. He flew up from Virginia because the government shutdown. He works. He was. He was so smart. We were like, this guy's like a rocket scientist, and I think he actually is. He works for NASA. But a lot of people don't notice, but he was actually fast. He also was a D1 sprinter at Rutgers. I don't think a lot of guys know that. Even our classmates probably don't even know that. Just a tremendous human being. And then my basketball guys, I got to mention this. I'm sorry I played 3 sports. I got to talk about that. Mark Hayden's here. George Visconti. We played, since we were like in 5th grade. CYO at St. Agnes, we won county championships. In Conf, we were undefeated. We won a lot of games together, went to a lot of camps. I love these guys. Vinny Goldman is here, and Vinny was a standout at Montclair State, 3-year starter there. I was blessed to play with all these tremendous athletes. Bruce Goodman is here. He was our manager. Bruce Goodman was D1. He was a D1 manager at Rutgers. They went to 2 NCAA AA tournaments. Jason Pressman was on our. He was the only underclassman at on our senior team. He was D1. Obviously lacrosse. He also was D1, and when he went to Air Force for football. Anyway. I was lucky to have the opportunity to play with all these incredible teammates. I also like to recognize the coaches that I play for because they played such a big role in my life. Coach Zicatelli is here. Thanks to Coach, he helped me out with recruiting. I can remember a time where back in the day, you had to, it was 2 ways to get recruited. This is before the internet and everything else. It was, like during spring evaluation, the coaches would come into the high school, look at your film, and then, if they wanted to get a closer look, they invite you to camp. Unfortunately, I had to go to summer school a couple summers. So I missed those opportunities, but yeah. It's a bunch, but so anyway, but Coach is like, we got to do something about this. The camp was like a week long, and he goes, we're gonna go for like, I don't know. I think we went for like 40 hours. I don't know where we went to Penn State, but we jumped in Coach's Subaru. It was me, Todd, and Dave Brown from Westfield, who eventually became the Giants quarterback. We got in a car, and Coach drove us to Penn State so they could get a better look at us. And I thank Coach for always trying to get those opportunities for us. And thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. And his wife is here as well, Mrs. Zicatelli. When we were in high school, they used to have the player of the week. They would have them over their house. They opened up their house to us. And, she cooked us this great Italian meal. And I think all of us were over there at one point. And we, thank you, Mrs. Catelli, for having us over. These are the type of coaches that I had. Jason mentioned Mr. C before, and I know there was a lot of lacrosse guys up here tonight. Maybe he didn't influence them, but all the guys that I mentioned, Alan Salo was another guy who played D1 lacrosse that we played with. They could all thank Mr. C for that. Thank you. He was probably the first, for us Comp guys, he was probably the first, coach that we had, and he taught us, all we knew about sports back in the day, so thank you, Mr. C. Brian Kernan is here as well. He is a member of the 1981 Boys Union County Championship team. He started as a guard there. Brian is a basketball junkie. He used to go down to Henley. We used to play there from morning till night. When there wasn't any games, he would, he had a car. He was older than us. He's like, we're going to the pond in Linden. We're going to try to find some better comp. Thank you, Brian, for always taking care of us. You're a good man. Mr. Johnson and Mr. Boy unfortunately aren't here tonight. Great coaches, probably the most successful teams that I played on. I have to thank those two. And Mr. Borai helped a lot of these guys in a weight room. Like, I don't know how many English teachers that could bench press 425 pounds. But Mr. Borai was an animal, and thanks to him. Last but not least, Coach Petroselli. I'm probably the closest with Coach Petro. I spent a lot of years with him, I have to thank him. He used to drive us around to summer league games, and he just went above and beyond what a coach should do. I also have to thank him for the experience of a lifetime. He took us, a lot of guys here, to Ireland for 2 weeks. When I was a freshman, I think going into my sophomore year, he took us over there, and a lot of us had never been out of the country before, and it was such a great experience. Experience this new culture, experience your first beer in a bar, first shot of Jameson in a bar. First time getting kicked out of a bar. It was really a great experience. All kidding aside, it actually worked out for Coach as well. He met his wife, Trish, who is here. She, it really worked out for them. He got a beautiful family out of it. That is unbelievable, and I'm glad I was able to experience that with Coach. The love of my life, Carrie, is here with her family, my family as well. Ed Marilyn, Timmy, Tommy, Christy, they're all back there somewhere. Betty and Herb. I don't know who else is back there. John, Vanessa, Connor's back there. Thank you. There's Connor. Thank you very much for all the love and support. And I also selfishly like to thank the committee for a little validation. When I first met Kerry, something came up that that my sports past is like, oh, you played football in high school. I said, yeah. It's like, what position you play? It was a quarterback and a linebacker. At the time, I was probably about 250, and she's looking at me like, all right, not really. I'm not sure. I believe that, but then as I continued to date her, something came up with basketball, and she was she was like, you play basketball? I'm like, yeah, we ain't good. I'm like, it was decent. And she's like, I have no evidence of that. I'm like, she kind of didn't. And then, I don't know how long later, someone mentioned track, and she goes, you played track? Like, what did you do in track? At this time, I think it was about 270. And I said I ran the 100, 200. I was a high jumper and a long jumper. At this point, she's like, this guy's full of shit. I'm like, there is no way that this guy did that. And I was like, at that point, I was like starting to doubt myself. And I was like, I go, maybe she's right. And anyway, thanks again to the committee for this incredible honor. Thanks for a little evidence as well. I'm proud to say that I grew up in Clark, and I'm forever a Crusader. And thank you.
In the 1960s, when people in Union County talked about basketball, they rarely talked about Johnson Regional. It was an afterthought. Clark where? Nobody talked about Johnson Regional basketball. However, they did talk about Johnson Regional's great player, Bill Wilson. Billy was a first-team all-county selection by the Newark Evening News. For you real old-timers, you might remember that paper, and the Elizabeth Daily Journal. The Ledger wasn't even, nobody even read the Ledger. He averaged 17.8 in his senior year. He had a high game of 33 in his senior year, and ready, didn't play a minute in the fourth quarter. So for everybody who thinks who's got the scoring record, if Bill's coach hadn't pulled him out, he would have gone over 40 in that game. He had a marvelous career. In the papers, as I did some research, these were the quotes. Extraordinary offensive moves. No opponent can stop him one-on-one. So, after just an incredible basketball season in which he led Johnson to its first time in the state tournament. In those days, you had to be 500. His team was 11-11. Bill put that team on his back. They won a game in the state tournament and lost a close game to Neptune, who was in the top 20 in the state in the next round of the state tournament. So Bill was sitting around. Basketball season's over. It's not time to go to play in college yet. What should I do? I think I'll run track. And Bill, after never running track for the first time, went to the state finals in Group 4. Yes, Johnson was a Group 4 back in the mid-60s. And and ran the 800 in sub 2 minutes at the state championships at Rutgers. From there, Bill went on to a great career at Catholic University, where he scored 1,200 points, went over 30 twice. It was an two-time all-conference selection. He's had an incredible career in education, nearly 50 years as a teacher, coach, guidance counselor, guidance director at Gonzaga College High School in Washington, D.C. Getting in Hall of Fame is nothing new to Bill. He's already been inducted in the Gonzaga Hall of Fame. He's been inducted into the Catholic University Hall of Fame. And tonight I'm proud to bring him as a member of the Johnson Hall of Fame. Bill Wilson.
I'll keep this short because I'm bumping up against my bedtime. I want to thank the committee, for this honor. Congratulate the other inductees, and I looked at the profiles, and I'm just amazed at the accomplishments. I want to thank my parents for moving me to Clark when we were in 4th grade. I went to Charles H. Brewer, and then moved into high school at Clark, and had a great high school coach named Robert Fulton. He came down from Pennsylvania, and he was my coach freshman year, and then also my junior and senior year. And I think he's responsible for, me standing here tonight. He was just an inspiration. He was a great English teacher, a great man, inspirational. And he was a new coach. He was 24 years old, I believe, when he first started at Clark. So I was just, privileged to have a guy like that. And I want to thank my teammates, most of whom are living out of state. Charlie Mollenberg and Howard Kessler, Mike Oakes, Bud Reimer, Bo Boney, whose sister's here tonight, a number of different, great teammates who, without them, as you know, it's a team sport. You can do nothing. I want to thank, my brothers who are here tonight. My brother Gerard, who's no longer with us, was a very good soccer and basketball player. We played on the same team. And his daughter is here, Dawn's here. I want to also recognize the Berglund and Sisk family who are here representing, their parents. My dad was a really good high school player. I think most of the athletic genes came down from his side of the family, although my mother's brother, Ted Jr. is here tonight, played high school football. And also my grandmother loved watching women's professional wrestling on Friday night, so maybe that's part of it. I want to thank my wife, Mary Pat, who's here tonight. My 3 sons work, so they couldn't be here, but I'm grateful for everyone who's come. I had a chance to go to Rutgers. I was offered a scholarship there, and but I wanted to go away to school, so I took the offer at Catholic University, and I'm really glad I did on a number of different levels, but that's where I met my wife, Mary Pat, and we have 3 sons, 2 of whom have actually played college soccer. I don't know if you know it, but my brother, I mentioned my brother Gerard. My brother Jamie was a starting defensive back for Clark's football team. My brother John was a running back, like a bowling ball. He was Scattaboo before Scattaboo became Scattaboo. And Timmy became a successful soccer coach. He was specialized in coaching goalies. And so I was, blessed to have a loving and also challenging family, So, I just think that there are so many lessons to be learned, by playing athletics. I was a decent student, but I wasn't a great student. But when I went to college, I wanted to keep that scholarship. I wanted to be able to, be eligible. So that elevated me. And I was around a lot of people who took academics really seriously. So that combination, was really, very good for me. And it, went on, and Steve mentioned, I went on to work at a high school for 50 years. I just retired in 2020 and had the opportunity to coach at every level, freshman, JV, and varsity. And, we had some great players there, but we also had some decent players, and we have some players that were challenged, but they were most of all really good people, and they taught me a lot of good lessons. So without further ado, I want to, again, congratulate all the great athletes, that were inducted tonight. I may not have their athletic ability, but I beat them in age, that's for sure.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing tonight? We're almost there. You're doing a good job of hanging in there. Okay. It's my honor to speak about Bob Taylor tonight. Coach Bob Taylor is the second coach that's going to be inducted tonight into the ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame. I would like very much for his daughter Robin to come up and join me here. Please give Robin a round of applause. And I also want to congratulate all the other inductees tonight. I especially want to congratulate Matt and Katrina Posque. It hasn't been mentioned, but they are the first and possibly only ever husband and wife Hall of Fame members. We'll see if that happens, sometime in the future again. Okay, it's my honor to speak about Bob Taylor. I knew about Bob Taylor before I knew him. Simon Steingart was my best friend on my college football team. He had played for Coach Taylor at Colonia when Bob was an assistant there at Joe Martino. Simon did little other than rave about this extraordinary coach almost every time we talked. So on an off day, he took me to meet him. We went to a Colonia practice, and I met Bob Taylor for the first time. He was everything that Simon advertised him to be. He was dynamic, he was loaded with positive energy, and he was revered by his players. The very next year, Bob came to Burley as his first head coaching job. Needless to say, things went well there. 19 years of great football victories and great football memories, along with 4 state championships. Johnson didn't play them every year, but when we did, we knew we were in for a physical game against a tough, well-coached, and extremely motivated team. And if we happened to win, we counted it as a major achievement. Burley is where Bob quickly showed his greatness as a leader and where he became a coaching legend. Bob came to ALJ when Burley closed its doors in 1993, and I was thrilled to be asked onto the staff. I might have been a little less thrilled if I knew the enormous amount of hours that we'd be putting in the late nights that we'd be burning the midnight oil into. Sleep deprivation was a common condition during the season. I seriously doubt that any staff on any level worked harder. What I discovered about Bob in those years that I spent coaching with him was the undying commitment he had to his players. He was about seeing every one of them develop to their fullest potential. Not just his players, but his people as well. Coach Taylor had a knack for making everyone feel important. That was as true for the third string tackle or the team manager as it was for the starting quarterback. He made everyone feel like we couldn't be doing this without you. I also learned that Bob was all about building school spirit and pride in the community. That should have been evident from the community pride I saw him develop when he was at Burley. If you were going into Kenilworth to play a game, you weren't just taking on a great football team, you were taking on the whole town. He brought that same sense of pride and community to ALJ once he arrived. We had it at times before, but it really coalesced under Coach Taylor's leadership. A lot of football programs talk about being a family, but Bob's teams didn't just talk about it, they lived it. Manager, statistician, player, or coach, we were all accountable to each other. We know that others depended upon us, and we were not about to let each other down. The yearly La Barca football clinics that Bob started at Burley and later brought to ALJ regularly attracted some of the biggest coaching names in college and professional football, and they all knew and respected Bob Taylor. Hundreds of high school coaches would attend every year to network and gain professional growth. Its companion event, the La Barca College Day, provided opportunities for kids from all over the area to meet college coaches, establish relationships, get into schools, and play at the next level. Bob wasn't just about helping his own players, he was about helping yours too. And he wasn't just there for football players either. It really didn't matter what you were involved with in school. He wanted you to feel proud of it, and he celebrated your achievements. The educational lingo is educate the whole child. Bob had been doing that for decades before it became a fashionable catchphrase. He ran study halls at night for players who were having difficult time academically, and he'd recruit honor society students to come in and serve as tutors, which is something I never saw any other coach do before that. He routinely went above and beyond to meet the needs of anyone who was in his program so that that kid could achieve and experience success on or off the field. There's generations of students for whom Bob has been one of the most consequential and influential people in their lives. He has turned kids around who otherwise might have struggled in life, and the lessons he has imparted to countless kids had led them on to successful and meaningful lives. There's a saying that goes, the kids won't care what you know until they know that you care. there's never been a doubt in anyone's mind as to how much Bob cared about his players and students. The result was that when he spoke, we all listened. The wins and the championships are impressive, and they're outlined for you in the program, and they're a meaningful part of the story, but they're just that, a part of the story. You know, we don't get rich doing what we do for a living, but the goodwill and the caring that we show our students and players comes back to us tenfold later in life. That's our real reward. And in that sense, I don't think there's anyone on earth who is richer than Bob Taylor. He's having a difficult time right now, and it's been tough on his family as well. But the legacy he is leaving is a remarkable legacy. And in the context of being a total educator, teacher, coach, administrator, and colleague, I don't think anyone's ever done it better. It's my honor to have Bob's daughter, Robin, here to stand in for him and accept this induction for her dad, Coach Bob Taylor. Robin, please accept the induction of your dad into the ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame. I know that it would mean a lot to him to know he's being so appropriately recognized for his life's work and the lives he's touched and the dedication he's shown to so many kids. Thank you. On to the 95 football team. I'd like to have all the members of ALJ's greatest football team, coaches and players, come forward and join me here up front. Just kind of gather right over here to my left, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 95 undefeated 11-0 Arthur L. Johnson Crusader football team. Yeah. Okay. I am going to read off the names of the team now and coaches. I got these names off the team photo from the plaque that we had from that year, so I'm hoping everybody I'm hoping everybody was in that picture. I realize that some of the people aren't here, but when I call your name, could you just please step forward? So head football coach was Coach Bob Taylor. Assistant coach, Carl Peterson. Assistant coach, Steve Shovey. Assistant coach, Mike Mancino. Assistant coach, Lou Delapia. Assistant coach, Steve Washuta. God bless you, Steve. Assistant coach, Vincent Albano. God bless Vinny Albano. And assistant coach, Bob Taylor Jr. God bless Bob Taylor Jr. Players, just step forward when I call your name. Tom Harrington, Carmen Scuderi, Greg Layden, Dan Guzovich, Dan Ludek, Ray Radziniak, Nick DeCorso, Frank Menzel, Mike Santangelo. God bless Mike Santangelo. Tek Sung Kim, Jason Rios, John Levins, Brian Renda, Joe Aleffi, Joe Atanasio, Billy Ives, Len Navarro, Brian Mulberry, Ferrara, Carmen Rossetti, Mike Roble, Gunther Kreizon, Billy Prokos, Jason Hassler, Christian Zaworski, Brian Fuchs, Curtis Dick, Brian Hirth, Nico Nicholas, Keith Jurek, Yanni Marmaro, Brian Drake, Jimmy DeTrolio, Jerry DeRillo, Marcus San Giuliano, Dennis Bowden, Dennis Camperell, Eric Gerstner, Adam Zambuto, Nick Spagnuolo, John DeCenza, Tim Posque, Jay Mady. Those are the members of the 1995 football team, undefeated football team. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see standing before you are the players and coaches of the greatest football team that ALJ has ever produced. Arguably, they are the greatest team in the history of the Mountain Valley Conference. This team completely dominated the opposition, going a perfect 11 wins and no losses to become ALJ's only undefeated football team. We scored a total of 424 points on offense, with the defense allowing only 24 points total scored on us all season long. The starting defense only allowed a total of 7 points, and that was six? I stand corrected, 6 points. And that was in the state championship game against Summit. Bear in mind that these incredible numbers were accomplished with the starters resting on the bench for almost the entire second half of every game. What has made me even more proud is the type of individuals that each of them has grown into as adults. They are high character people. They've stayed close with each other and regularly get together. They always invite us coaches to join them, and they never make us pay. When I spoke earlier about the lifelong influence that a great coach like Bob Taylor can have on kids, this is what I'm referring to. I now count them as friends, and I'm happy we're honoring them tonight. I'd like to call on Coach Carl Peterson, the mastermind of that amazing offense, to say a few words. Carl.
Thanks, Shof. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the honorees that were here this evening. You all put a permanent stamp on, a personal stamp on the Arthur L. Johnson Athletic Program and raised this program, the athletic program at Johnson, to a level of prominence both in the county and in the state. The journey of this team, the boys you see, the men that you see in front of you now, didn't begin in '95. It began in '93 when David Brearley closed and Bob Taylor and myself were at Brearley. We had to go somewhere. After 20 years in the business, we weren't going to start driving for UPS. So we had the opportunity to choose where we wanted to go. I chose Johnson because my son was going to be a senior at Johnson that year and had already established himself as an athlete, and I was going to have the opportunity to coach my own son. It was an easy decision. When Bob knew I was going, he said, if you're going to Clark, I'm going to Clark. And before you knew it, our whole staff picked up from David Brearley and moved down the Parkway to Arthur L. Johnson. The players who were there at Brearley had to make a decision. They could go to Dayton, they could have gone to Governor Livingston, which would have been quite a trip, or they could go to Johnson. They had one chance to select. They chose to commit themselves to our staff moving down the highway. They came, that first year they were together, it was a 6-3 season. We were one play away from the playoffs. The next year we were 7-3. And these guys up here, predominantly that were seniors, were juniors that year. We were 7-3. We were in the semifinals in the playoffs. We got beaten a tough game. And at the end of that game, they all chanted. They said, we will not lose again.
We will not lose again. We will not lose again.
And you know what? They didn't.
1, 2, 3. We will not lose again. That's it. All right.
And they made good on that. I personally I've coached over 40 years of football and over 375 games. and been very fortunate to have coached 6 state championship teams, 4 of them at Brewerly and 2 here at Johnson. And every one of those teams had a unique personality, a unique style. All 6 state championship teams were different. But this one was definitely different. This 95 team, without reservation, is the best team I ever coached, and maybe the best team I ever saw in 40 years. We were number 1 in Union County, a Group 3, Group 4 county. We were number 1 in TV3 area. We ended the season number 16 in the state of New Jersey as a small Group 2 school. Quite an accomplishment. I think that year we were good enough to have beaten anyone in the state. What made us so special? First thing that made us special was the honoree that was just the last person, Bob Taylor, my close friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bob was selected as a New Jersey Star Ledger, New Jersey Coach of the Year that year. We had these guys up here, they had size, strength, speed, toughness. We could pass, we could throw, we could tackle, we could do all of those things. Better than anyone. But the big thing we had was a commitment. These kids, men, had a commitment to a goal. We will not lose again. And you know what? That commitment was strengthened every day at practice and every game. When at the end of practice and the end of a game, all these guys got together, held hands, and before we would break to go home or whatever, they would say, together. And that's what they were, together. That's what made them what they were. Coaching adage says, practice makes perfect, and that's not true. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that's what these guys did. I got to tell you, every day they came to practice, they treated it like a game. There were days they were so focused, we'd normally go from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. At 4:15, Bob and I were looking at each other trying to figure out what can we do, because we've already achieved everything we can do in game preparation for this week. That's how focused this team was. And it was evidenced by a perfect 11-0 season. We dominated the schedule, as Coach Schofield indicated. And I got to tell you, I'm with Bob up at Boston College working at the BC camp one year. And after the season, we had shirts made up. And on the back of the shirt, it was like a concert theme on the back. It said Johnson Victory Tour. And it had the 11 games listed. The guy behind me is a coach and his kid. He said, "You make these scores up?" He said he couldn't believe it. 52-0, 49-0, 50-0. He thought, this wasn't real. You couldn't have had that many games with that kind of score. But we did. We had one problem, a dilemma. These guys only played up into the playoffs, played about a half a game every week. At halftime, 40-0, 35-0, whatever the case may be. And our philosophy was, when the first series of the second half, we'd put the first offense in for one series, just to be certain that we could adjust, the team could adjust to any adjustments we made at halftime. Same thing defensively. One series on offense, one series on defense, you're out. And the younger guys all got a chance to play. And we started to realize, as we got near the end of the season, our guys hadn't played a full game all year. Well, they probably don't remember, but we talked about it in our meetings. We conditioned their ass off for 2 weeks going into those last 2 games, because we knew they were going to have to go for 4 quarters in those games. We beat Caldwell, a real good Caldwell team, in the semifinal, and moved on to the final game at Summit. Now, most people don't know this, but the Summit game was supposed to be in the Meadowlands. And Summit turned it down. They wanted the hot dog and hot coffee concession, so they turned down the invitation to the Meadowlands, and we ended up playing at Summit. Well, it was the only show in town. Westfield, I believe that year, was the only other county team that had an opportunity to play for a title, and they played the night before up in the Meadowlands. We were the only show in town in all of Union County. and all of Union County was there. It was, I've never seen, in my 40 years, we never had the opportunity to play in front of a crowd like that. Everybody was there to see Summit from the Watchung Conference play the little guys from the Mountain Valley Conference. We pulled up on the bus. I tell this story often to people. We pull up on the bus, and we're getting off the bus, and we were pretty big. We were good-sized players. And the Summit coaches were standing at the entrance, near the entrance to our locker room. And as our guys are coming off the bus, they're getting bigger and bigger coming off the bus. And Summit's looking, and then, and I know I don't want to embarrass anybody here, but Frankie Menzel was our fullback and middle linebacker, 6'2", 240. And that's NFL size. He comes off the bus, full beard, looked like he played in the Canadian League for 3 years. And the color came out of the faces of all the Summit coaches. They knew they were in trouble. You couldn't defer back then. You had to receive or kick off. Well, I told Bob, I was running the offense, Bob, let's take the ball. We'll run down the field. We'll jam it down their throat, score early, and the game will be over. And Bob was coaching the defense. He said, we only give up 3 touchdowns all year. We'll stick them on defense, and then we'll be able to score after that. He was the head coach. We kicked off, and they returned it to the 5-yard line. Not a great start. Thanks, Bob. But in any event, that's when the game turned, because we held them out. We had a goal line stand, came out of there from the 5-yard line, out to close to midfield, flipped the field, and turned the whole game around. That day, everywhere Frank was going to run the ball, all they were looking for, number 34, we had put a game plan together where everywhere Frank went, he wasn't carrying the ball. We had a guy, Joe Aleffi, who had got injured early in the season, had a high ankle sprain. They didn't even know who he was. He probably didn't play for 6 or 7 games. He comes back. Frank would go one way, Summit would go that way, and Joe went the other way. 220-something yards at an unbelievable game. We also put together a play. We used to throw a split-end screen. We'd step back and throw the ball to our split end and make the best. You see it in the NFL every Sunday, and we were pretty good at it. But we knew they'd be prepared for it, so we put in a split-end screen draw, and every time we stepped for the draw, the split-end screen, everybody raced out of there, and then we handed it to Joe, 200 yards. That was an amazing afternoon. The first ever state championship won on the field by Arthur L. Johnson in an undefeated 11-0 season. A great ending to the career for these men, and they became, that day, great representatives of Arthur L. Johnson football and Johnson athletics in general. We are all honored and proud to be recipients tonight with all you other people. Thank you to the committee, and thank you very much.
Coach Pete and members of the team, it's my honor and privilege to officially induct you, the 1995 Arthur L. Johnson Crusader football team, into the ALJ Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations.